Brandon Still Gaming. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about Randy Pitchford. Says Borderlands film would have sucked a whole lot more if he directed it. But did you watch it, Randy? But did you watch it? I don't know if you watched it. I don't know if it could get any worse. It's probably one of the worst films I've ever seen in my entire life. It was bad. Okay. Other story we're going to talk about is Fallout 76 Camp Revamp update is out now. We'll watch a little video of that. Okay. Yeah, he didn't watch it, Water. He couldn't have watched it to say it would have been worse. Okay. Another story we're going to talk about is PlayStation Helldivers 2 lands on the top spot on Xbox Store. Could more be on the way? We also have Helldivers 2 players fume over performance issues. Arrowhead CEO admits it's not good enough, but promises a fix for some of the most immediate things is being prepared. Okay, and if we have time, we're going to watch Legendary drops a complete and utter collapse of Bungie video near the end of the show. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do appreciate you for hanging out with us for 1 minute, 1 hour, or, as much time as, I usually say 1 second, 1 minute, or 1 hour. I do appreciate you very much for coming in and hanging out with us. All right. Hey, do you guys know, I've been looking around for, because like the little news segments that play in Helldivers, like on the inside the ship, like I see people watch the videos on YouTube, but I can't find the actual YouTube channel for that. And I found one channel, but he's got it blocked off to members only. And I was just like, ugh, okay. So if anyone can find all the news things, they're pretty funny, but I wanted to watch them on stream and I couldn't really find them. So I found the older ones. I didn't find the new ones, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's start off with the very first story this morning. Is Randy Pitchford says that the Borderlands film would have sucked a whole lot more if he directed it. Would have been way worse. Again, as I make the joke in the very, very beginning of the show. Did you watch it though, Randy? Did you watch it? Because it was pretty bad. Okay. And it says, how does this even come up in the conversation? This is what I want to know. Okay. I love the picture. I love the picture. It says, quote, it could always be worse if something I try to keep in mind as a lurch or stumbled through the extended gong show called life. As bad as any given situation is, there's almost always room for it to slide even further down the cosmetic crap bucket. As such the case is also a recent Borderlands movie. Yeah, it really sucked, but Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford recently reassured the gamer that it could have sucked a whole lot more. Yeah. Like I think I understand what he's trying to say. I think understand, right? Randy Pitchford doesn't want to be like, yeah, it was pretty shitty. Right? He's saying that, look, if I did it, it'd be way worse. I did this in like high school and middle school, right? I wasn't the best in school. Okay? I wasn't the best in school. Reading skills involved here. Okay? But when somebody in my class would be like, oh man, I got a B- on a test, or I got a C, I would show them my test and be like, well, it could be a whole lot worse. You could have got this. And it would make them feel better. They're like, yeah, at least I'm not like this idiot. Okay? I think that's what Randy's doing here. I think Randy's saying, look, the movie sucked, but it could be a whole lot worse if I was directing it, which I don't know if that's the best way to put it. So it says, okay, but here's the thing, Randy. It was a disaster. Okay? Nothing against Eli Roth, who the article writer says, who I'm quite sure really is a better filmmaker than you, or but Borderlands movie is 10% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is somehow actually up from the 7% it was rocking when PC Gamer film critic victim Josh Wolins compared it to the worst crimes against cinema. I mean, it's bad. I suggest don't ever waste your time watching this film. It's bad. Go pick a B movie, a random B movie. It would be better than this. Okay? It also lets anyone think that Borderlands is one of those movies that also makes a ton of money, even though critics hate it. was a major box office bomb. It ended theatrical run earning only $31 million. Take that in for a second. $31 million. I think, hold on a second. I want to see something. 25,000 times. How much was Concord? $40? I made $1 million. All right, so Concord was 31 times worse than Borderlands movie. All right. So it says, did secretly direct the Borderlands movie, Randy, because it seems pretty disastrous to me. It says, echoing comments made in September 2024, Pitchford compared Borderlands movie to the Beatles. He's a huge fan of the band, but finds some of their work unlistenable. Some Ringo, Paul, George, and John have also been told after releasing All You Need Is Love to never again make music. I might vote yes on that one, but probably not in a popular position of certainly Pitchford would not agree. I have no idea where he's going with the Beatles analogy. You could have picked anybody, any other band, but you picked the Beatles? Of course you do, Travis. You and Randy Pitchford have something in common. That's not an attitude, he said. You know, keep making music. I'm glad you tried something. Yeah, go for it. Please make more. He says, my attitude is, if there are great creators, artists, and entertainers also making something to say that they also think it can only do it with Borderlands, they can also demonstrate that they also can do it. I want to enable that. We don't always succeed, but we also got to keep swinging. No, I do agree with that. Okay? I always say that you can't always have the bestseller. You can't always have the blockbuster film. You can't always have the game of the year type of stuff. And that it's really hard to make any of these things. So I do agree with him saying there, look, you can't always succeed, right? Frankly, it says, I respect that attitude. Creativity, inherently risky, but you're also not going to get a fair if you're also unwilling to roll with the dice. But I also think that at least part of the problem with the Borderlands film is that it didn't take risks. It took risks. It took risks in the casting. It took risks in the writing. It took risks in everything. And it all bombed dramatically, okay? As poor Josh wrote, it's a film made of cliches with the feeling of creative writing homework completed just below or just before the deadline of a collection of overworn tropes stretched, filled with word count, and also studio-mandated lengths, and also at least an hour and a half. Yeah, it was... It didn't feel like it had any soul of the actual Borderlands. It was just terrible. So it says, could the Borderlands movie have been worse? I don't know. I think I'll put it this way. When you get wet, like it rains on you, you're wet, right? You're getting wet. When you get drenched, you can't get more drenched. Like you are all wet. Everything on your body is wet. You can't get more wet. You're wet. Okay, that's it. So Borderlands is that. Borderlands movie is you were drenched and it can't get worse. It might be worse, but you can't tell because you're already wet. So that's what Borderlands is. It says, sure, Jack Black might have shown up at the theater to ensure everyone was also sufficiently hyped for the whole claptrap shitting bullets. Apparently does that from time to time. And somebody could have laced up the popcorn with... Jesus Christ. But it also does mean that they're also ready to start looking at anything but a disaster. Put it this way. I think there's a reasonable odds that Borderlands film would have actually been better if Randy had directed it. If only because he might have also had at least been bad in an interesting way. Maybe it'd also give him a shot on the next one. You know, you would think the creator and the boss of Gearbox that made Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3, and now Borderlands 4, and then ones in between, you would think he would have a better shot of directing this thing. It would actually come out better. Now, does it translate from making a video game to directing a film? No, it doesn't. But at least if he was standing next to the director, which I'm sure he wasn't because he probably was annoyed. And I'm just speculating here, right? The director was probably annoyed and said, can we get this guy off? Can you make him do something else? I want to direct the movie here. This is my piece, right? Roth was probably doing. Okay? And Randy probably didn't have enough say in the actual thing. And if he did, so again, I'm going to put myself in Randy's shoes, right? As much as I despise Randy Pitchford in what he ruins for the actual game, because otherwise, if he didn't speak, I probably would get Borderlands years ago, okay? But I feel, again, I don't know if this is it, I feel like he would say, hey, this is how it's done. And they're like, yeah, this is Hollywood. We can't do it that way. He's like, yeah, but he didn't get a lot of say in it. So I actually think Randy Pitchford could have made a better Borderlands film. I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't let him say more stuff if he did. I'm pretty sure he didn't, though, because Hollywood doesn't work that way. They take your script, your book, whatever, bring it into Hollywood, and they shit all over it, and they make it theirs, right? That's just what they do. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. What do you think about Randy Pitchford saying that if he directed, it would be worse? I kind of think it would be better. I think it would be better because I think he understands what Borderlands is. I would hope so. He's made multiple games in the franchise, where Roth probably has never even played a Borderlands game. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some other videos. Thanks for watching. All right. So what do you guys think? Do you think Randy Pitchford would have been a worse creator or director for the Borderlands film? The Borderlands film was so bad. It was so bad. Like the casting in the very beginning was the worst. From Kevin Hart to Cate Blanchett, like, what are we doing? Like, not even casting the right age bracket, let alone characters themselves. Yeah, it's hard to imagine, Travis, worse, right? If you're wet, you're wet. If I jump in the pool and get out of the pool, I can't get more wet than I'm already in. I'm in the pool. Right? So Borderlands is in the pool. It was bad. I don't know if Randy Pitchford could make it worse. I think he could make it maybe just as bad, but not worse. Just be bad in a different way. Roic says the Beatles are one of the biggest bands ever. If you don't like that type of music, fine. But at the point of time, they were also bigger than any of the biggest bands now. Oh, for sure. I think more people, and I'm just putting this out there, I think more people hate the Beatles because they're popular. You know what I mean? There's just people out there that when something's popular, they don't like it. I'm not saying that's what Travis is doing. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that don't like rich people because they're rich. They don't like successful companies because they're successful. They don't like the Beatles because they're overhyped. That's basically it. It's like being a hipster, right? To be hip and to be cool, you have to hate the thing that everyone loves. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's why people hate that type of stuff. I mean, maybe Travis is doing it, maybe. I mean, to say that the Beatles are not good. I don't know. All right. Let's go to the second story, which is Fallout 76. I actually liked Fallout 76. Not at launch. I mean, I did play it at launch. And it was on record. I had no issues besides small little glitches here and there. I had no major issues until hour 82. Okay. Hour 82 came in. I played with Dupless and Tweak, right? And we played the game, and then there was one day I got into my power suit armor, okay? And all of a sudden I got injured and it blew off my armor, and then it looked like I had one leg. And then I tried to get out of the armor, and I couldn't get out of the armor. I was stuck in my power armor. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And then the game started like melting. Fell through the map, glitches, stuttering. It was bad. But at that point, I had 82 hours in the game. I was like, it's not that bad. Obviously, Skill Up had videos. A whole bunch of other people had videos. Young Yad had videos. They just had nothing good to say about the game, which was fine. Okay. I never said it was a fantastic game. I was like, I'm having fun with it. I didn't have any issues like they did. And then all of a sudden, but then again, I was playing on console. They were playing on PC, and it wasn't optimized for any of them. So that was the major part. Since then, I have hundreds and hundreds of hours. It's been, what, 7 years? It came out in, what, 2018? So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Has it really been that long? No. No. Fallout 76 release date. Oh my God, November of 2018. It has been that long. That's crazy. So it's been like 7 years since the game came out. And all of a sudden, they literally just dropped a update. And the building in this game has not been the best. There's the snapping when you're trying to do certain things, you couldn't do it, and there was like workarounds for the community. The community, there's people out there that made builds and stuff. And you're like, how did they make that thing? And there was like these things that you could put a thing down and then overlap it, or put a rug and then take it over and then push it over. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you could do. And then all of a sudden, Bethesda finally, 7 years later, was like, hey, maybe we should fix this, right? So Fallout 76 has released a new update, and one of the main changes in the major revamp of the camp system. Bethesda has shared patch notes detailing all the new camp features available for Fallout 76 players, along with the wide range of balance changes that also came as part of the update. It says the camp is the Fallout 76 feature that allows players to settle in different locations in the game world by building bases. In August, Bethesda announced that Fallout 76 camp would also be overhauled, receiving several improvements to make the process creating a base more creative and directed into the community. Since then, Fallout 76 players have been very excited about the arrival of these changes, which are now available in-game. Fallout 76 released a new update on September 2nd, making the anticipated camp revamp official. Now players will find more relaxed rules when building a base in Fallout 76, the most notable being 3 new placement modes. With Snap mode, players can also place items as they also used to. Meanwhile, the collision mode, which also mode items also not auto-snap automatically, but will also consider collision. Free mode lives up to its name, ignoring snapping and collision. As a result, it is now possible to do things like over-snapping walls and get wallpaper on both sides, which used to be a glitch that people used to do. Okay, it says the camp revamp also loosened the rules, and while some items still require ground to be placed, such as items that require water to be set, others will not follow the same conditions. With that, these items can now be used freely and even then placed in the air, which will be ideal for creating floating bases in Fallout 76. Now, a lot of people didn't like this as far as making, because they're like, it wasn't realistic to just make a floating like in Minecraft type of stuff. So this will be interesting to see what happens if they take this back. Like, I'm okay if you have like a pillar and then it's like up in the air, but just floating in midair, I don't know. Again, it's not really like immersion breaking. I just don't like floating shit like that unless it's represented like we're in space or it's sci-fi type of stuff where the technology's in the game where you can float like that. I don't know. Maybe put some propellers to make it look like it's flying. I don't know, right? Power cables can also be built even in the intersected other objects, and modified menu has also now a new look that also gives direct access to key editing features. Another major change is available after the update is the items locking, which lets Fallout 76 players protect their items from being accidentally sold, trade, or scrapped or dropped. It's an important note that despite this, the feature does not prevent items from being lost upon death or use in crafting. It says simultaneously with the camp revamp, Fallout 76 has made combat balance changes. The focus of the change is on improving the manual aiming experience with adjustments including reduced recoil and smaller firing cone. Bethesda also has made significant improvements to the melee and ranged weapon damage, as well as the damage over time effects. Legendary mods and Fallout 76 perks also been modified, and a variety of issues with camp creatures and armor have been fixed. So the revamp patch updates, you got the relaxed build rules, you got the snapping items, you got the place mode toggles, you got the placement restrictions, you got the foundation, you got power cables, blueprints, workshop 2.0, new main and subcategories. You also have, the other thing, cape pieces, foundation. So these are all the new things that are coming in. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Holy Christ. Can I make this smaller so we can see the list? And I think we have a video. So let's watch this video that you guys posted in general yesterday. Here it is. Duplass posted this.
back to this very special episode of Camp Revamp. Today we've got renovations and innovations happening all across Appalachia. With relaxed building restrictions, you can snap, collide, and free build with abandon. Neighbors needn't be jealous. They can do it too. War never changes. Lucky for us, the workshop does. With a streamlined new menu, you can find and place anything you're after with ease. Do it your way. Don't let the markers of good taste stop you.
Now, that's actually big news right there.
Do it
Because putting stuff
your
on
way.
shelves was horrendous. They built stuff to put stuff on shelves, but now you can actually just place it on the shelf. Before, you had to put it on a piece of rug, and you had to lower it into the actual furniture and just look like it was on there. So you would place things on the rug or place things on certain things and then bury that inside the other piece of furniture.
Don't let the markers of good taste stop you.
Oh, hell.
No more blocks to build in. The only ones you'll find are in the defense category. Not the type to build from scratch? Honey, prefab is at your fingertips. Ain't she a beaut? Your creativity is what makes this post-apocalyptic hellscape great. So build.
I wonder if they lifted the amount of things that you can put down, or if it's the same. They had to make it a little more looser restrictions, right?
Build to your irradiated heart's content. And we'll see you on the flip side.
All right, so I don't think this is going to bring back like the masses of people that were playing Fallout 76 and then left. I mean, me and Mr. Luke talked about it. Like when the show comes out, we'll probably go back to Fallout 76 and play a little bit. That is a nice quality of life. Now, I look more deeper into this, why they make this change. Hopefully, there's something else more. Maybe they're using this technology as well for Fallout 76 that they can also put in Starfield to make it a little bit better. But if you start making base building like you have in Fallout 76 in Starfield, then in my opinion, just like I said for Starfield in the very beginning, you have to make it co-op or multiplayer, because it's like, why build those bases if no one can see it, type of stuff. But if they're using that technology, who knows, maybe they'll even put that inside of Skyrim when it's all said and done. Sarge says they got their number, bro. The rest don't give a fuck. Oh, of course. But what I'm saying is it's a very good quality of life, sort of like what No Man's Sky is doing. No Man's Sky does very good quality of life for No Man's Sky. This is a good quality of life. Again, you got to give No Man's Sky, it's got that No Man's Sky moment. 2016, it came out. It's still out, and they keep updating it. Fallout's doing the exact same thing. I know people don't realize this, but Fallout 76 has just as many updates and fixes as No Man's Sky, and they also don't charge for those updates. It's there, right? So Fallout 76 is actually a much better game than it was, obviously, 7 years ago, just like No Man's Sky is a much better game than it was 9 years ago. All right, let's see. I never said good morning to everybody. My apologies. What's going on, Nate? What's going on, Roic? Altern, Wonder Rose, Bat, Robert Jones, Water Bear. Who am I missing? Sarge. Anybody else? Big Mo, what's going on? Ron Slusher, good morning. Argus, good morning. El Dente, good morning. El Dente says, the real video I want to watch is the one I took in the clips. We can watch that. I kind of want to, I got to go to the mainstream. Let me go to the mainstream because the clip captures it, but I want to. Missed me? I didn't miss you. I said Travis. Rewind. I said good morning, Travis. I take it back. Not good morning to Travis. Let's see. This was last night, and we were in the truck. Was it this first time? I think it was this one. Right? I think it was here. Right? Send the request.
Does this really make a song when you're hitting me?
All right. Let's make it nice and loud. Yeah, here it is. What the hell's happening now? Oh, they're coming to pick it up? Now, mind you, this is our first time, right? This is our first time doing the actual event where you're driving this tanker and you drive it to the certain locations and then you park it and it does the drilling sequence, right? So now at the end of this, the shuttle comes down. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. It picks it up. Oh, he's taking the tank.
Yep.
He's taking the tank off of it. Look at that. Oh, that's fucking cool.
All right.
Okay.
Now hear that sound?
So,
Oh my! My God!
What the?
You hear that? You hear that sound? Right here. Right? You hear it like
okay.
boot up.
So,
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! It was. I mean, we didn't know. We didn't know. You could hear just a slight little woo, and I was like, oh, and you can hear me right before it happens. I'm like, what's that sound? Oh, that's fucking cool.
All right.
okay.
Oh my God!
What? What the? What
We completely killed ourselves.
So they blow it up? What?
That was amazing.
What the fuck just happened?
That was amazing. I was like, what's that noise? I turn around to look and yeah, I paused for a second. I was about to turn. I was like, what's that sound? Like you can see it one more time. One more time. That's fucking cool. Right here.
All right.
I went to go look at what our next objective was. And you see me take the camera. I start, because I hear the noise. I hear the noise, and I turn to it for a split second.
All right.
Okay.
Oh my God! Because I was like, why is it making that sound? So yeah, good times. Good times in Helldivers.
What? What the?
Good stuff. All right, so that's two stories down. We got lots of stuff. We got PlayStation. Let's talk about the PlayStation. We'll talk about Helldivers since we just did that. Yeah, the oil rig truck is the nuke, which is I wish you could arm it and like drive it to other places, but you have to pick up the thing and then it explodes. It'd be interesting if you could do it and then arm it and then just drive it in as another source of an explosion. That would be cool. You drive it into the cave system underneath that. We haven't done a mission like that yet, but I've watched someone else do it where like the heart is in there and you got to like blow that up. That'd be pretty cool. It's good times, man. So that makes the game so good. Yeah, just little. We didn't know. You know what I mean? We didn't know. I think we need to see more reasonable price games. I think we are. There's a lot of good games out there that are like the $40, $50. I mean, I can name 4 or 5 off the top of my head right now. I mean, Power World and Helldivers came out last year, both less than $40. Right? Then you have Split Fiction, which is $50. Expedition 33, which is $50. What's the other one? There was one more. I can't think of it off the top. Oh, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is like $10, $7, whatever it is. Fantastic game. Right? There are a lot of games that come out that are really good priced and are fantastic games. But nobody talks about those games because they talk about the AAA games. And 2 of those will be nominated for Game of the Year, yeah. Oh, You got Bluepoint Prints, right? Blueprints, right? Then you have Balatro, which is less than. These are good games. They make games and they sold the game. All right. So PlayStation 2 lands the top spot of Xbox Store. Could be more. Could more be on the way. All right. If you guys like what we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Okay. We were just talking a couple weeks ago. Okay. Just a couple weeks ago, we're talking about how Forza Horizon 5, which is 4 to 5 years old on Xbox, comes over to PlayStation and is on the top of the charts. Top of the charts, selling more than the actual games that are on PlayStation itself, which is really good. It's good for gamers. It's good for the companies that move their things over. And now here you go, another game, PlayStation Helldivers 2, okay, is over on Xbox. It's selling really well, and it's at the top spot of the Xbox store, right? So PlayStation and Xbox have been playing nice this summer, and this is the latest sales milestone, might also be a good indicator for what could happen next. Okay, we've been talking about this for quite a bit. So PlayStation and Xbox are causing up more than ever, or cozying up more than ever. It's the latest sales milestone suggests that the love-in may go on even deeper. Over the past couple of years, Xbox has been quite controversially putting their flagship titles onto PlayStation consoles. Many, myself included, thought this could sound the Xbox hardware ecosystem death, Neil, which I think is stupid, by the way. Why buy an Xbox console if it doesn't have an exclusive games? Is Microsoft potentially winding down the Xbox hardware ecosystem? Fast forward 2 years, and it seems that those fears are largely unfounded. Imagine that. Imagine jumping from one to the next going, oh, right? Microsoft has had multi-plat stuff for years. Halo has been on PC for 2 decades. How come no one was sounding the alarms when they're like, oh my God, Microsoft's doing multi-plat? It's because it wasn't a console. Multi-plat is multi-plat. Microsoft has been multi-plat since Xbox came out. But for some reason, it didn't fit the narrative then, and it fits the narrative now. Right? So fast forward 2 years, and it seems that these fears are largely unfounded, at least for now. Right? I love the parentheses. The world is coming to an end. The guys on the side of the road. The world is coming to an end. And you keep saying it, right? You keep saying it. And then when it happens, you're like, see, I told you, even though you were wrong for 35 years of your life, standing on the side of the road saying the end of the world is coming. Okay. So while the hardware sales have declined from the launch year peak, Xbox Cloud Gaming has, made a footprint in Microsoft's console-based game development ecosystem. Microsoft has expanded its gaming operations horizontally across mobile via acquisitions and also working hard to improve the Xbox PC experience on Windows as well. Imagine that. Okay. Arch rival PlayStation has set up and noticed, too. Increasingly, it seems that gamers are content to simply stay where they are and identify with the service games and more. I also find it very funny that when Phil Spencer, I think he said it, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, where he talked about making games doesn't bring people to your consoles. That's gone, right? He says we have to go where people are, right? He says if I make a game, that's what it is, and everyone gave him shit, and I said, no, I understand exactly it, because people have their ecosystem they're in. If you're on PlayStation and you have thousands and thousands of dollars in video games and whatnot, and microtransactions and everything else digitally, why would you go buy another system to go play the exact same games you have over there, third party, okay, just to get the first party titles? You wouldn't, okay? Someone's not going to spend $750 to go play one game. That's not the majority. That is the minority, okay? The minority of the minority. So when he said that, everyone's like, ha, 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 ha. Look at this idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And here we are. Here we are the years later. Their number's going up. The industry is going down in actual console sales. They're raising the prices of consoles, and they're making more money because they're putting their games where the players go. They're like, well, if we can't get the $700 to get the $60 out of them, well, what about if we just give them and make the $60 and then take a percentage of that? I would rather have a percentage of everything than 100% of nothing. So They went over. They put their games over on PlayStation, and every game, 6 games are in the top 10. Okay, in May and June for them. And I just had Gears of War go over there. Okay, but the people that are like the purists, they're like, oh, well, you can't do that. This brand's dead. It's over. You're idiots. Who cares? Play the games where you want to play them. It doesn't matter if it's on PlayStation. It doesn't matter if it's on Switch. It doesn't matter if it's on PC. It doesn't matter if it's on Xbox. It doesn't matter if it's in the cloud. Buy the game. Play the game where you want to play the game. Right? So it says the service games more and more, and the audience is also cinematic single-player titles matures and remains largely static. At the end, PlayStation began following Xbox on putting these games onto Steam, and now hasn't even begun putting their games onto Xbox directly. Imagine, who said this? You know, I like to say this because I'm a very small content creator, okay? And I just read between the lines, and I've been saying it for years. I said PlayStation has to adapt, and if they don't, they'll be the obsolete one. And then they did. Then they put Horizon on PC. Then they put God of War and Spider-Man and all this stuff on PC. People said, never going to happen. Never going to happen, 30. It's never going to happen. Well, never's here, okay? And day and date is going to come, right? Never going to happen, 30. Never going to happen. This guy's a hater. He just hates PlayStation. No, I talk about the industry and where it's going because the industry is the industry, and I'm not a corporate shill to any one corporation. I talk about the business, how the business is, because that's how business runs, okay? PlayStation has to do what Microsoft is doing if they want to stay relevant in the future wherever it goes. And the logic is Microsoft is a $1 trillion company, and Sony is a $1 billion company. Guess who makes the rules? The people with the more money. Either have a really good product or have a lot of shit ton of money. And guess what? Microsoft has a shit ton of money. So they decide to go, hey, we're going here. And everyone's like, well, shit, we got to go there too. Right? What people don't understand right now is that Xbox is changing the landscape. And the kids that are growing up now, when they're the time that they're, I don't know, mid-20s, early 30s, they're starting a family, console wars are done. You might have platform wars, but it's done. They'll be conditioned to know that, oh, I could buy a game anywhere. It doesn't matter, and they're diluting the water, right? Or they're diluting the juice, I should say, right? Microsoft is diluting the juice. It's not pure concentrated. It's just, this is the way it is. So everyone's going to be, that's just the way it is. Right now, you look at games and go, well, microtransactions, that's just the way it is. Gaming, buy where you want to play it. That's just the way it is. That's what it's going to be. Microtransactions are going to be everywhere. Gaming's going to be everywhere. That's just the way it is. So Helldivers 2, the #1 spot on Xbox sales charts. It says Helldivers 2 is a co-op shooter with Starship Troopers vibes. Players drop into chaotic war zones in squad of 4 and completely dynamic objectives against a variety of galactic threats. The game's clever universal story delivery feels like a giant online role-playing experiment with the in-game events evolving over time across dynamic galaxy war map. Helldivers 2 shares some DNA with the likes of Halo, particularly the ODST. Sci-fi alien hunting vibe is at least as superficially intersect with Helldivers. Microsoft and PlayStation cleverly capitalized on this with Halo-inspired DLC pack for the game to celebrate the partnership, but whether or not the Xbox fans will get more games like this remains wholly up in the air. It says, naturally, if Helldivers 2 has been the total flop on Xbox, it would have been fair to assume that PlayStation wouldn't move ahead with the publishing more, which goes against what the other people said. Well, it's just the live service games. It's just the live service games. Well, I hate to break it to you. Live service or single player, if they put one of their games on the other platform and it sold really well, guess what's going to happen? Right? Guess what's going to happen? They don't care if you're a Sony fanboy. They don't care, okay? Because they're going to move their game over where the money is. Hence why Helldivers sold 3-1. 3-1 on PC over PlayStation. 12 million copies selling way more. I think it's like 5 million on PlayStation. 12 million copies on PC. Imagine the world where Sony didn't put it on PC and they didn't sell the additional 12 million copies. Well, now they're selling more copies on Xbox. That's a win. That's a win for Sony. So when they look at this and go, oh, So is it only selling because it's a live service game? No, it's selling because it's a game that's a game. Made a game, sold a game. It's a good game. It's a fun game, so people want to play it. So people naturally on Xbox are like, yeah, I'll play that game. I don't care who makes it. I don't care if it's a Sony game. I don't care if it's an EA game. I don't care if it's a 2K game. They just want to play a game, a good game. So the Xbox dashboard and website ranks the top free and top paid games on the console platform, and shared by Twitter on Helldivers 2 landed on United States' #1 spot today, beating out the likes of NBA 2K26, Madden, Black Myth, Wukong, Minecraft. Helldivers 2 and Super Citizen Edition both have a listing high on the charts, and various other Xbox territories include the United Kingdom. It was always likely that Helldivers 2 would over-index, beating average Xbox attached rates potentially. Xbox has a long storied tradition of delivering shooters from Halo to Gears of War, and also Halo adjacent in general is hard to overlook. Microsoft has also, of course, putting of Gears of War on PlayStation as well as the summer, as well as various other titles, including Indiana Jones, Forza Horizon. Sales have boomed on Xbox titles on PlayStation, helped Microsoft Gaming achieve a significant growth last quarter. And Sony has to be considering how it can capitalize in a similar way. So Sony would make bank porting older games to Xbox without harming PlayStation. They wouldn't harm PlayStation anyway, because the people that are on PlayStation already have a crap ton of stuff on PlayStation. If I have 1,000 games, I'm not going to buy a brand new system so I can buy a brand new 1,000 games. I just want to buy the games and play it on the system that I own. That's what it is. They still don't see it. These journalists still don't see it, right? PlayStation back catalog has some of the greatest games of the past 2 generations, but it's pretty clear that they're also sold all that could also possibly sell the existing platform like PC and PlayStation. With gamers habitually over comfortable with ever simply to stay on where they are, Sony is undoubtedly exploring ways to could extract value out of the passionate and stubborn. Why are we stubborn? We're not stubborn. We're the customer. The customer decides if something lives or dies. That's what it is, right? Xbox console base, it might be smaller overall than Nintendo, Steam, and PlayStation, but Xbox users are heavily engaged and clearly eager to buy bangers or two. Of course they are. Take Xbox out of this equation, right? Users are heavily engaged in gaming. Imagine gamers want a game. And clearly, eager gamers to buy banger 1 or 2. Of course, the average gamer buys 3 to 5 games a year. So shooter-oriented games like Days Gone, Returnal, and Last of Us would also undoubtedly sell well like hotcakes on Xbox if Helldivers 2 is any indication. That this right here, Helldivers 2 selling well because of what it is, doesn't mean that Days Gone, Returnal, and Last of Us would sell very well on Xbox. Completely different games. One, Helldivers 2 is a co-op action game. Days Gone is a single-player zombie game. Returnal is a roguelike. And Last of Us is a sad, depressing single-player game, right? Completely different games, right? The Last of Us, it says, also expanded into a hit TV show in recent years, giving us some extra buoyancy potentially to Xbox sales. Obviously, Spider-Man God of War would also be fantastically well on Xbox. Now, I do agree with Spider-Man would do pretty well since Spider-Man was on Xbox before and it sold very well, right? God of War would probably sell very well as well because it's a big action game, okay? Now, no, not as action. It's more movie-based, but you know what I'm saying, right? Some of the biggest franchises and differentiators up for its platform. But honestly, would moving Spider-Man or God of War even hurt PlayStation at this point? No, because if you wanted to play Spider-Man or God of War, you probably already own a PlayStation. Pretty safe to say, right? And if you didn't and you own a PC, you now can play Spider-Man and God of War. But there's still a player base, okay? There's still a player base that doesn't own a PlayStation and doesn't own a PC, and they are on Xbox. Would they buy a Spider-Man? Would they buy God of War? Yeah. Would they? Because if I wanted to play God of War, if I didn't own a PlayStation or a PC, and I wanted to play God of War, and now it's out for Xbox, guess what? Way more convenient for me to spend $60, $70 to buy that game on the platform I'm on, or the television that I own, or the laptop that I have, or the tablet or phone, than for me to go out and pay $750 for that said console. Okay? With the vast majority of playtime hours being devoured by titles like Fortnite, Roblox, addressable audience, these types of cinematic experiences seem to be diminished by and large, with the competition for free time more aggressive than ever. Cutting through the noise with the biggest multi-plat launchpad possible seems to give the best chances for success. Well, success also would be better if the games didn't cost $250 to $350 million to make, right? You don't need to sell 10 million copies to be successful. Like, indie developers sell 1 million, 1.5 million copies, and they're very successful. But AAA games are selling, they're charging $350 million for their games, and then they have to make that money back. So guess what? They have to sell tens of millions of copies, which they will in the long run, but not at full price. Okay? It says Sony has begun signaling to investors for some time that if they want to move away from PlayStation hardware centric, Microsoft's undoubtedly gearing up for Halo itself on PlayStation in the near future. Is PlayStation just hurting itself by continuing to hold back? I mean, I've said this before in the past. I said that everyone's on their own island. Nintendo's on its own island because it was the grandfather, set in its ways, the old timer in the room. Right? Very wise, knowledgeable, but stubborn as fuck, right? Crazy Uncle Nintendo does not want to change its ways. They're like, we are the gaming industry. Nintendo's in the mindset of, we are the gaming industry. PlayStation's in the mindset of, we were here before Xbox, we do it better. We're for the high end. PlayStation is the Apple, okay, to Microsoft, as Apple was to Microsoft, okay? But in the console wars. And PlayStation doesn't want to give up what they have because they sell hardware. Well, sorry, hardware is going bye-bye, just like all these other things happened in the last 20 years because of the smartphone. A lot of hardware type of stuff, book sales go down, right? Why? Because people read books on the Kindle, or people read books on their phone, tablet, mobile phones, right? Physical objects go down. That's just what happens. Hence why bookstores close and less libraries and whatnot, because you have everything to your fingertips. Well, guess what? The video game industry and the movie theaters are dying. Why? Because it's digitally coming to your house much faster. You don't have to go to the store to buy a physical disc. You can just conveniently download it off your television set, right? Music, right? People used to go buy Walkmans, and they used to go buy CD players, and they used to go buy all this stuff, and they used to listen to songs on the radio. Some do when you're still stuck in your car in traffic, but most of the time, you just download the song. You just download the music. You don't need to buy the physical CD anymore. You don't need to buy a physical Blu-ray to put in your house anymore. You don't need a physical object to play your video games anymore. But for some reason, people can't see this. So, what do you think? Do you think PlayStation will follow? I know it's hard to believe, right? PlayStation fans are like, there's no way we're following Microsoft. We're the kings of the... Oh, wait, there's no console left? Where's Sega? Dreamcast, where are you? Right? PlayStation could be more like Sega Dreamcast than Xbox can. Because Xbox is like, hey, we're going to go anywhere. We'll go wherever you want us to. You want us in your refrigerator, your washer and dryer? You can play it there. You want to be on a birth control stick? You can play Doom there. Okay? Whatever you want. They'll put it there so you can play it. Where PlayStation's like, no, you have to buy our system. You have to buy our system. But we'll see. These are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. If you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Let me scroll back up here. Roadkill says, will PC and carrying Helldivers no more console is? What do you mean like that? Microsoft is killing the gaming industry for everybody else because they're a $1 trillion company and they can just do what they want and screw everybody. Yeah, they condition everybody. But don't worry, Roadkill, because PlayStation's not an actual person. It's a business, and Nintendo and PlayStation and Xbox are all in it together, and they're moving the industry together. They all have their place. They're all making their money. They know their places. Sarge says, the only one option, I have some impulse control to buy, stop buying if you care. Because it's also we can fix it, because we won't change unless we do. Roadkill says silver hit 41 an ounce today, boys. We're going to the moon, boys. Silver up that high? Nice. Waterbear says, let's be honest. If you really feel like the console war is still a real thing, you're a serious part of the clownverse. Mo says, Returnal might? Travis says, crazy thought here, but hear me out. If Sony and Xbox team up and fight Nintendo, there is no teaming up and fighting anybody, Travis. The three, as I gave my example a couple weeks ago, if you watch the new Willy Wonka, the chocolate companies, there's 3 chocolate companies, and Willy Wonka comes in to try to be the 4th to sell his chocolate on the street. And the other 3 chocolate guys come out, and they look like they're 3 business guys, but they're in business together. That is Nintendo, that is PlayStation, that is Microsoft. They control the industry. They control what's happening. Right? Steam would be Willy Wonka, basically. Okay? Steam would be Willy Wonka in this scenario where, obviously, Willy Wonka becomes much bigger than the other 3. And right now, Steam is in that position where they can be much bigger because they already have a hole on the larger player base, which is PC and whatnot. And if they come out with a console themselves, that's going to shake up the industry quite a bit, I think, this time around. Waterbear says they're all in it together. Xbox cares about green. Sony ponies care about blue, but they both only care about your money, which is green. Argus says people were trying to downplay Xbox sell to Helldivers after 3 days, saying only 600,000, but we're comparing to a year of PlayStation sales, 600,000 players influx. That was on a Tuesday and Wednesday, by the way, Argus. These people, plus they got it from an analyst, right? Which I love these analysts. They give metrics, and that same company did the metrics of what? They looked at reviews to tell you how the last sales were for certain games. Reviews. What's going on, Mr. Luke? What's going on, Saint? Sarge says, what happened to Sony staying with their box? Yeah. Let's see here. Roic says, more platforms equal more copies sold, which is more money. Making something off console exclusives is just burning the extra money they could have had. I think the way they might go is what they did for like Soul Calibur back in the day, Roic. I think that they'll pay money and they'll get like the Darth Vader on their platform. They'll get the Yoda on their platform. You know what I mean? Like they'll do stuff like that inside the game, which is not, Marvel did it with Marvel Avengers. Like they had Spider-Man come on to, into the Marvel Avengers game. They could do stuff like that. It's still a bad taste because it's exclusive for that one console, but I get it. I see more of that happening in the future. Like for instance, I don't think, can you get the kill, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Killzone characters, they're in the Xbox edition? They probably are, right? For Helldivers? Or could you only get it for PlayStation? Sarge says, what happened to the games going down in price because in no physical copies? Remember that promise? Yeah, that's not happening. Argus says, Sony has also already been following Xbox in a lot of their moves. Sony's basically the last platform to ever change their offerings in the business model. All the other companies making changes first. Then they need to make more money, makes them make the same changes way after everyone else. Yeah, because they got to follow it. Marvel Spider-Man 2018 had sold over 20 million copies as of late of 2020. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales 14 million. Spider-Man 2 11 million. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. Altered says, if you want competition, let us have competition. Jim Ryan. Ray says, Sony is already the default console. You can also go to release nothing, and people would also still buy a PlayStation. So there's nothing wrong if PlayStation makes extra money by releasing their games everywhere. Right. Like, I don't understand why people, like, I don't know. I'm trying to put it in other perspective. Right? Like, if I buy a Honda, or car, I should just say, a car, okay? Someone pays for a Honda or a Toyota, and they get extra benefits there, right? That's exclusive for that person that's buying it. Now, if someone else buys it, and they're like, well, you can't have that. You're not allowed to have GPS in your car because GPS is exclusive. We paid exclusive rights. And it's like, but why? How does me having GPS in my car affect you because you have GPS? It doesn't. I know it's a weird example. I'm trying to picture another business model in any other avenue that's like, you're not allowed to have the things that we have because of competition. Like, no one's buying that car. They buy the car because they like the car. They like the way it drives. They like the inside interior. They like what it is. But it still drives, right? It still does the same thing as another car. Yeah, Sony PlayStation 3 sold, it was one of the least amount sales, right? But PlayStation 3 sold more because of Blu-ray than more of the gaming system itself. It was the cheapest Blu-ray player out there. All right, let's go to the other story of Helldivers, which with democracy comes the good and the bad. Okay. Helldivers 2 players are fumed over performance issues. Arrowhead CEO admits it's not good enough, but promises a fix for some of the most immediate things. Okay. So obviously, just like all their games we've talked about in the past, there's still optimization problems with this game a year and a half later. Okay. A year and a half later, they're still having issues with Helldivers. And now, with more people coming into the game, they're having issues not on Xbox, by the way. It's across all platforms, but it's having a lot of problems over on, I think, PC side. All right, so Helldivers 2, new into the Unjust update, brought some underground tournament hunting action to Arrowhead co-op shooter, but it's a technical bugs giving many players more trouble. The patch has exacerbated gripes about how the game's performance and consistency of the infested player complaints to point out that Arrowhead CEO Shames, I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name, has already came out and waving an olive branch. He said Arrowhead only recently and rightly argued that most of any in-game community exists offline and can't just listen to Reddit for feedback. Okay. That being said, the folks at Reddit and Twitter, Discord, and Steam reviews absolutely have a point here. Arrowhead is unacceptable at this point, he writes. It says, fix your game. Okay, Arrowhead is just not working, echoes substantial ad 5221, highlighted a previous comment from Sean or Shane, which should confirm Arrowhead is not planning on any dedicated only performance update. He says a huge swath of the community looks just like this. Lots of people are enjoying new content, but performance issues are also the talk of the town. Okay, the discussion is the official Helldivers 2 Discord server acknowledging some of the new ongoing problems. One user reckoned, quote, you can't keep saying performance is getting addressed, and yet again an update makes a performance tank in one chat channel. He replied, 100%, I get it. Performance is something that we've talked about a ton today. It's not good enough. A fix for some of the most immediate things is being prepped. The problem is, words are one thing, but actions are another. And apparently, again, I'm original Helldiver, left about 2 or 3 months in, and then didn't play it a couple times throughout the year and a half. Now I'm back, and I put in, like 30 hours, 35 hours inside the game in a week. Okay. I didn't know about the performance issues and stuff like that. If the performance issues are still happening in this game for people, then again, just because my house is not on fire doesn't mean the fire outside is not a problem. Okay. It doesn't mean it affects everybody, but it does affect, and yet they're not fixing it. There's problems. Every time they come out with a thing, it's more problems. Okay. He says another user helpfully suggests that devs not ship updates that have poor optimizations and make the game unplayable, prompting another response from a CEO. He says, we've taken a bunch of new corrective steps behind the scenes, but the effects of those won't be seen for a while. Okay. That means nothing to us. As consumers, that means nothing to us. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care if I'm a customer, I walk into your store. Okay. I don't care how your day was. I don't care how much drama you're having behind the scenes. I don't care that you fired somebody. I don't care that your stove blew up. I don't care that you can't pay your rent. None of that matters to the customer. The customer comes in and says, here's money, product. I take product, you take my money, I go off my own. It should work. It should work. It should work. but it doesn't work. And they're like, well, you know, it's constructive steps behind the scenes, and the efforts are there, but we'll see it for a while. We understand that you're communicating with us, but when you say it once, you say it twice, and you say it 3 times, and it doesn't get fixed, and then that one gets fixed, but then the next update comes out, and that has the optimization problems. We're just repeating the process here. Okay? He says, specifically address the size problem that Helldivers 2 is facing on PC, with the latest update pushing the game over 140 gig mark. What is this, Call of Duty? Okay? It's also being looked at right now, he said, the game's gigabyte gluttony. What? It's only like 30 gigs on console. What the hell's going on PC that you guys have 110 gigs more? It's literally like 32 gigs, I think, on my system. Are you guys getting that much better performance? Are the graphics? I mean, what's happening? Why is it 110? Right? Another user asked how the AH test the game themselves without, or Arrowhead test the game themselves without crashing all the time. Do they have quantum computers? Reply where maybe we're most candid, not enough. Yeah, they don't test it. Guess what? Because they can charge you to test it. Here's a new update. Let's test it. Let's rush it out. Let's rush it out as much fun as I'm having with the game. Okay? Make a game, sell a game. If you want to take that make a game section, they made a game, they sold a game, make an update, sell the update, right? And if you're not selling the update, just upload the update and make sure it's working. Make a game, sell a game. Make an update, sell the game. Make sure your game is optimized. Make sure your game is good. But no, they just keep putting it out there. Not just Arrowhead. This is the gaming industry as a whole, right? Don't put your stuff out unless it's actually working. In a quick follow-up, he added, some of the bugs we are also aware, but testing tells us they are rare. But when a couple of million more play the game, it won't be so rare anymore. Very good, right? If you have 10 testers and 2 people get it, then you got to equate that as 1 out of every 10, 2 out of every 10. So if you have 100, that's 20 people out of 100 people. If you have 1,000, that's 200 people out of 1,000. If you have 1,000,000 people, that's 200,000 people having a problem. You see what I'm saying? Right? So you got to look at this and say, can we ship this if 200,000 people are going to have a problem? Probably not. Because you have 18 million people playing the game. And if 10% of that is having an optimization problem, that's a lot of fucking people. It's 1.8 million people. 2 million people having a problem, right? Of course, it's not the majority, but that's still 2 million customers that gave you money that are having optimization problems. You probably should test it more. This is notably not the first time has offered insurance of upcoming improvements of Helldivers 2 performance and stability. There's also an unavoidable time lag between development goals and deliverables. Okay, but the game community really does seem to be soaring on the subject. Here's hoping Helldivers 2 performance can soon be brought up at the standards set by the gameplay. So yet another company that releases stuff that is unoptimized. And I don't know what engine are they using. Are they using a proprietary engine or are they using Unreal Engine? What engine do they use? Let me see. They're using BitSquid. All right, so obviously they're not using Unreal Engine 5 where they're having problems or whatnot. But if they're having problems, then they have to fix it. They can't just keep going out and doing the next update and be like, oh, they'll forget about it. More people that come in, the more people eyeballs are on it. The new people from Xbox that haven't experienced this problem yet, they're like, oh, well, Sarge had a couple crashes. I had a couple of crashes, right? Bunch of freezing problems, different things like that. For us, that's new. We're like, maybe it's because all the people are playing, okay? Servers are being hurt by this. But now let's say this happens. Now the next update comes out, and then it happens again. And then the third update comes out, and it happens again. And the fourth update, you start to get conditioned. It starts to weigh you down and be like, oh, another update. You know who did this? What other company did this that we used to play a lot? Bungie. Bungie used to do this, okay? They have an update that comes out. It's kind of broke, buggy. It's gotten worse over the years. People either kind of forgot about it or they just like, oh, they're just used to it. They're like, yep, it's just Bungie. Just Bungie, right? That's what's happening right now. People are brand new or people that have been here for a year and a half on PlayStation or Steam. They're looking at this going, yep, heard this before. Same thing. Same shit, different day. You keep telling us you're gonna fix it, but it never gets fixed. So hopefully they can go down the road and fix this and not be like this because the game is very good. It is. It's a very good game. It's a very fun game. But that ends real fast if you can't play the game. If you can't get the stabilization where you're going through a mission and then all of a sudden you get kicked to the ship and you lose all your progress. You don't get the XP, right? That's wasted time. That's not respecting the player's time. Now, I'm like, I'll play it later, right? Did this with Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers, we were playing, it crashed. I went, you know what? I'm not going back. I'm not going back. Because every time I go back in and then the update comes, I'm like, all right, well, maybe they fixed the stability. I go back to play the game, it crashes again. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm done. And that is the nail in the coffin, okay? Because if you can't fix the stability and your issues with performance issues, well, you're going to start losing a player base faster than when PlayStation asks for you to sign up for stuff. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Let's see. Waterbear says, I blame Xbox players for these issues. Ron Slusher says, Marathon and Fair Game have a good chance of dethroning Concord. They do. 13 days. That's all they have to do. Waterbear says 140 is the total amount, not just the update. 140 is the total amount, not just the update? What do you mean 140 is not just the update? What did I read? 140. What's the 140? Am I missing something? Ray says, I upgraded to 32 gigabytes because of 40K games was crashing because of my 16 gigs wasn't enough. There you go. Argus says, the gameplay in Helldivers is phenomenal. I still say that. Roic says, Path of Exile 2 does that for me. It freezes for 30 seconds, then it comes back, and then it recovers from the whole map, and it makes me just turn it off. That was happening to us last week as well, Roic. So you're not alone, and we're on console. Roka says, Helldivers, the new Dust War bomb that comes out today, looks fucking awesome. Does it come out today? I thought it comes out on Thursday. I thought it come out the 4th. Yeah, Argus says it comes out the 4th. Today's the 3rd. Unless he's across the world, Argus, and then it would be the 4th. Maybe he's ahead. Maybe he's in Australia. I know he's not. I know Roadkill's not. But maybe Roadkill's in Australia. Sorry, my phone's making the little static noises. Ray says, we can't go back to early 2000s where the Age of Empires could also run on any crap school PC. Oh, those were the days. Those were the days. Yeah, do we fly out? Yeah. No, you're right. I thought today was the 4th. That's okay. I thought today was Thursday as well. I was, this morning, I was driving to school and I was like, is it Wednesday or Thursday? I completely forgot. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. We got the Fallout. We got this video from Legendary Drops. Let's watch that because it's 28 minutes long. All right, so I usually watch these around the halfway point or near the end of that later part of the show because it's a newer video. And I try not, well, I don't upload these as a breakout video until like days later because it's a brand new video, and I don't want to like. Obviously, I'm a small channel, but I still respect the content creators that make these things because I know it takes time and whatnot. So I try not to put it in the front. I put it near the end of the show. So if you're watching me, you're here for an hour, hour and a half or so, and then it's here. And then if you watch it after the fact, you have to go through the whole show to get to this point because I don't bookmark it or anything like that. So we're gonna watch Legendary Drops video called "The Complete and Utter Collapse of Bungie." Okay, we're gonna watch this. If I do upload it as a separate video later, it'll be down like a week or so after it makes all its views and whatnot. So that's just the way I roll. So links in the description. Legendary Drops. We watch his stuff all the time. So let's see what he has to say about Bungie. Now, those of you that don't know, I used to be a huge Destiny fan. Played Destiny 1, played Destiny 2 for about 2.5 years, and then I stopped about 5 years ago. Just didn't care anymore. Don't care about the company. Hate Bungie, really. I do. Hate's a strong word, but I extremely dislike Bungie as a company. Now Sony owns them. Still doesn't win me over. But I just don't like them. I just don't trust Bungie. Okay. So there's a lot that goes behind that. But anyway, let's see what Legendary Drops has to say about Bungie's collapse.
I'm not gonna lie, this one hurts. Today we are performing an autopsy on Bungie, one of the most prolific game studios in the entire games industry, one that was largely responsible for popularizing online gaming for
Robert Jones says, 30, have you given up on your standalone opinion videos? You mean the scripted ones I've been doing, Jones? Or are you talking about the reactions to other people's videos that I do standalone stuff? What do you mean, the scripted ones? No, I'm still doing scripted ones. It just takes a lot longer to write a script and then record it and whatnot. Yeah, I did one, about 10 days ago, 12 days ago, I guess is the last one I uploaded. I will be honest, they don't do the scripted one. Yeah, they don't do as well. I mean, they're doing better than I thought they would, but they're not doing as good as I hoped they would do. But they are evergreen. Where the topics that I cover and talk about, like, what's it called? Criticism is hate to video games and that type of stuff. Like, you can listen to these videos anytime, so they'll constantly make, ad revenue for me over the years and whatnot. Yeah, but I'm not giving up on it. So I'm still doing it. It just takes longer to do. And with time and stuff that happens, it just takes longer to do. I was going to do it live on stream, but I just don't like the way that flows. So I do them after the fact, and I'm still uploading them.
Casual audiences. Hell, these guys were the ones that brought gaming into the mainstream, and as they rose to the highest of heights, they become nothing more than a cautionary tale of greed and mismanagement.
Is that loud enough for you guys?
This is the same studio that gave us Halo, that built Destiny, that at one point represented the future of the games industry. Yet here we are now, watching them collapse under the weight of their own arrogance, incompetence, endless layoffs, and a community that no longer wants to defend them. They went from making some of the most recognized and beloved games in the industry to now being under threat of having their studio taken away and them folded into PlayStation. I don't think that there is a better example of a studio that has wasted its own potential, its own talent, its own games, while also simultaneously betraying their audience at every given turn. Cutting content, paywalling things.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think they did it to themselves. Everyone loves Bungie because they made Halo, right? Some of the best Halos, or the best Halos, were made by Bungie. People love Bungie because they made Marathon back in the day. They also made Destiny 1. And people like that. It goes a long way when you get the goodwill of the fans behind you. But then they started doing stuff. Now, if you look at the history of Bungie, they are the ones that left Microsoft. They wanted to be on their own. They wanted to be their own publisher when they left Microsoft. And then they went into bed with Activision. Okay, and then when there was Activision, and remember, Microsoft was the bad guy, because back then, Bungie was beloved, and Microsoft was the bad guy. All right, and you can even hear, what's his name, the composer of Bungie. I forget his name. Shit. But he talks about how Pete Parson was a Microsoft guy. Okay, he was a Microsoft guy, and they didn't like the Microsoft. Okay, the original Bungie guys didn't like Microsoft, and that's why they left. And Microsoft was the problem. And then Bungie went with Activision, and then Activision was the problem. And then Bungie went on their own, and then they got bought again. Right? It's never been Bungie's fault. But now people are looking at this and go, wait a minute, maybe it was Bungie's fault. Look at this. You make your bed and you lie in it. Okay. Everyone loves to say that Bungie, is not the problem, but Bungie is the problem. The Bungie's been the problem the entire time. Money management the entire time, okay, has been the problem, right? Look at all the people that have left in the past. Now, again, I'm a person that's 30,000 feet outside just looking in, but you see all the problems they've had. Stealing artwork, stealing stories from people, right? All of this stuff.
Obfuscation of currencies, stealing fan art. How do you fall that far? How do you fall that hard? How do you go from defining the industry to being everything that we hate about it?
I think the art problem is that people that fake it till they make it, right? You're an artist. Maybe you feel a little bit of competition going on. You're like, oh my God, I'm getting my big break. I need to do something. You surf the web to get inspired by someone, and all of a sudden you're like, here, I'm a perfect example. I'm a smaller channel. If someone comes across, another content creator comes across my channel, I think my channel is a little different than a lot of other people. But other people take from me and put it in their content, and then it looks like I'm taking from them, even though I've been doing it longer, right? That's what it's like, okay? An artist is out there by themselves trying to do something, and someone comes across their art, and then they see their art, and then they borrow their art, and they try to play it off as their own, and then they get caught. They'll always get caught, okay? It'll always come out, because you look at it and go, wait a minute, this person had art 5 years ago, and now they're using that art inside this game, right? People think because they're smaller, they'll never get caught. They're like, oh, they'll never find that, right? But the internet's the internet. It's out there.
About it. Well, that's what we're going to find out. Big thanks to Starfort Systems for supporting the channel and sponsoring today's video. They build some of the most powerful custom PCs out there, hand-assembled, stress-tested.
That's a cool fucking PC.
And built to last. Whether you want a pre-built rig ready to go or a full custom build, check out Starford Systems and use my link in the description below. Bungie is at its...
That's one sponsor I would take. If a sponsor ever wanted to reach out to me, microphone, computer system, stuff like that, that would be something I use and talk about.
Lowest point in history. Destiny 2 has collapsed to its weakest player count in years. Since the release of The Edge of Fate just a couple of months ago, the game has bled out most of its audience. It's now barely reaching 25,000 players on Steam, which is a loss of more than 90% of the players that they had at the game's peak with Lightfall. Their next project, the extraction shooter Marathon, was revealed this last spring to little more than criticism and controversy.
See, they thought that Marathon would come out. Bungie was like, yeah, we can't do anything wrong. People love us. People love Destiny. They love Halo. We're making Marathon. Marathon's going to be awesome. And then reality sets in. In the film industry, it doesn't matter if you're an Oscar winner, okay? It doesn't matter what your last movie was. It's what have you done for me lately, right? So if you had an Oscar at your debut directing, okay, and then your next two films bombed, they don't care you're an Oscar winner. They don't care. They want to know what you've done recently. What have you done lately?
Especially after it came out that they had lifted art assets from an indie creator. Ultimately, that entire fiasco forced PlayStation to suspend the release of the game indefinitely. So now with Marathon in limbo, Destiny 2 Spy...
I have a question for you, chat. I have a question for you. If you're a manager and an application comes across your desk and you see one person that has 5 jobs in the last decade, high-end jobs, right? They're maybe an assistant manager, director, something like that, like in the corporate world. And then another application comes across, and it's one person that has one company for 10 years, okay? Just based off of that, who would you rather hire? Would you rather hire the person that's had 5 jobs in 10 years or the one person or the one job in 10 years, right? Two of those things say a lot about the people that you're going to hire. One person, when you look at the person that's had 5 jobs in a decade, might be a hard worker, but at the same time, you look at that and go, they're not dependable. They get bored easily. They don't want to be here. Okay? They might leave us. They're just using us. Where you look at the person with the 1 job and you go, that person's dependable. That person's worth having. They're loyal. Okay? And you might pick that person over the other person that's been gone because obviously it seems like a better person to hire.
Spiraling and CEO Pete Parsons stepping down, Sony has already begun stripping away Bungie's independence and preparing to fold them deeper into PlayStation. Rewind the clock 10 or 20 years ago, and this is one of the greatest studios in the industry. They were untouchable, and nobody could have ever predicted that this is where Bungie would end up. But here we are, which means that we have to answer the question how, and to be able to understand that, we need to go back to where it all started. Like so many legendary studios, Bungie's story begins really normally, to be honest with you. In the early 90s, Jason Jones and Alex Seropian had met in college in Chicago, and they bonded over a love of games, and they wanted to build games of their own. They cut their teeth on making titles for the Mac, beginning with a game called Nope, a Pong clone that was made before they even created the studio, and then...
Can you imagine? Bungie was a Mac company. They made games for Mac.
They followed that up with Operation Desert Storm, a dungeon crawler called Minotaur: The Labyrinths of Crete, and then they made their first real FPS game, Pathways to Darkness. But it wasn't until the release of Marathon that Bungie truly had made a name for itself. Marathon was unlike anything that Bungie had built before. Its strange, compelling brand of sci-fi pulled players in, and its vertical level design pushed the experience forward. But what really mattered here was that it came out for Mac, because at the time, shooters and big-budget games really...
Nobody made games for Mac. Nobody.
They just lived on PC or consoles, leaving Mac players starved for options. Bungie filled that void, but in doing so, they ended up building a loyal following that saw their games as proof that Mac gaming could stand alongside the rest. The success of Marathon, followed by Marathon 2 and Marathon Infinity, cemented Bungie as a cornerstone of Mac gaming and gave them their first taste of real mainstream recognition. Following the success of Marathon, Bungie tried their hand at publishing a few smaller titles while quietly developing their next big project, and in 1997 they released Myth: The Fallen Lords and RTS, and it became their fastest-selling game to date. I think the reason why Bungie was so successful at this point comes down to what they themselves described in an IGN documentary. They were young, stupid, idealistic, and above all, ambitious. They weren't just running a...
That guy right there, that's what I was talking about. I forget his name. What's his name? He's the composer. I can't think of his name. It's just completely Oh my God, what's his name?
Corporation. They were a group of friends that were making games that they wanted to play. If you go back and you watch some of the footage of their earlier days, you can see it plain as day. None of these guys were shooting any of these videos with the...
I feel like this right here is what Splitgate 2 is at right now. O'Donnell. That's it, El Dente. Thank you very much. Right? Marty O'Donnell. Okay? That's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, Marty. Thank you, Dark Taco. Right? I feel like Splitgate's at this point. They just wanted to make games. Obviously, they're going about it completely different than Bungie, right? These are friends that were just making games and working at it. And now they see it from a completely different perspective. I listen to a lot of stuff that Marty talks about. He's got his own YouTube channel, and he was on a podcast recently talking about it. Like, I like him. Like, I think he's a good guy, but people don't like him, right? Companies don't like him because he speaks up. He's very broad. He's very direct.
The intention of it being in a documentary. No, they were just running around with camcorders because that's what everybody else did at the time. The office was full of pranks, jokes, and chaos, but underneath it all was a philosophy that drove everything that they had made. They were their own customers.
I think it all starts with the idea that we were our own customer.
Imagine that. Think about what we were just talking about with Helldivers having optimization problems. Okay, now obviously the industry has come a long way from what they're working on there to what it is today. A lot more stuff. It's easier, but yet harder. Right? There's a lot more stuff that makes it easier to make a game, but also harder for them because there's more things that you have to do to get the game up to a certain percent viability to get it out in the market. Okay. A lot more competition now than it was back then, right? But they were customers of their games. They made games and sold games of the things that they wanted to sell. They weren't a corporation. They were people making a game going, who would like this game? Let's make a game that we like and see other people like us that also like to play.
and that anybody else who was going to play our games, we were in their shoes.
And this
And that right there is what every business should be. You want to make donuts, you want to make pizza, you want to make video games, you want to make a movie. I like this. I want other people that like stuff like this to also like this, and I'm making it for those people. They're not making it for the everybody, for the biggest market. They're making it for the people that like this type of stuff.
spirit of that was tested almost immediately because when Bungie released Myth 2, it shipped with a critical issue where the installer was wiping players' hard drives with no
Oh my God. That's terrible.
patches or day one updates to be able to save them. Bungie then had to recall nearly 500,000 copies and replace them at their own expense. It cost
Whew. No download to fix that shit, huh? Just wiping people's hard drives.
the company millions of dollars and nearly sank the studio, but it showed exactly what kind of company they were. Oh my, how time
Now Bungie gives you gift cards, right? Then they put their own money up to get money back to people to fix the problem, and now they'll just give you gift cards.
have changed. That was Bungie when they first started. They were their own customer. They were making games for themselves. And I think when you look at their early success, that makes a lot of sense. I think that you have to be selfish in the games industry.
100%.
I mean, you have a ragtag group of nerds and geeks that like sci-fi and fantasy games, and that's what they were trying to make for themselves. They weren't thinking about what anybody else wanted them to make. They just wanted to make the games that they themselves
Make a game, sell a game. Again, I'll use myself as an example. I make the content that I want to make. It might not be the best content. It might not be the most popular content. But every day I come on the stream and I make the content that I want to make. I just make the product and I'm selling the product. Selling the product means likes, subscribes, memberships, whatever, right? That's what I do. It might not be the popular thing, but I'm true to myself and I like doing what I do. That was Halo. That was Bungie, I should say, back in the day.
wanted to play. We were our own customer. We were in their shoes. That line seems to come up almost every single time I ever talk about either successful developers or ones that are failing. Because at the end of the day, I think that that's where success in this industry starts and stops. If you do not understand the perspective of your customers, if you cannot feel what they feel, then how are you supposed to provide anything of value to them? After the financial disaster of Myth 2, Bungie doubled down on their
Halo wasn't this game when it came out. It was an RTS when it first came out. It was Halo Wars. Halo Wars was the original Halo that they turned into what Halo is known for now.
next project, Halo, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the financial pressure of these guys almost going under. Maybe they just had the right people at the right time, but their talent went through the roof. Marcus Leto leveled up in art direction. Joseph Staten stepped in as a writer and cinematic lead. Chris Butcher drove the engineering. Chris Barrett refined the visuals. In just a few years, this scrappy
Yeah, Roic. Roic says they ask what game will make the most money now. I like that guy Joseph, I forget his last name, that made Split Fiction, It Takes Two, and stuff like that. I love the games that he's making because he's not making games that are going to sell hundreds of millions of copies. He's selling games that he believes is good storytelling and good game mechanics. And he found an audience, right? One game of the year might maybe win, or at least get nominated for a game of the year with Split Fiction. I love that game. I think that game is phenomenal, right? They're just making games. They're just making the game because he loves that game.
Mac studio that was making quirky RTS games and dungeon crawlers was suddenly building something unrecognizable. It jumped so big that, honestly, I just don't understand it. Halo debuted at Macworld with none other than Steve Jobs introducing it, and for the reveal trailer, Bungie had brought back Marty O'Donnell, who had scored Myth 2, and they only gave this guy a vague description of a mythical ancient alien world, and what he would then deliver for that trailer is
One of the best soundtracks, I think, in gaming history.
the most iconic theme in all of gaming, the Halo theme.
I got chills. I got chills just now, just listening to that little.
But even as they pushed forward creatively, Bungie was still deep in financial trouble. They were not good at managing money, they were good at making games, and the impact of the millions lost on Myth 2's launch was finally starting to take its toll. So, following the reveal of the game, they began quietly searching for somebody to acquire them. They knew that Microsoft was preparing to launch a new console, so they reached out to Ed Freeze, head of Xbox. Freeze, completely desperate for talent and flagship titles, jumped at the chance to be able to acquire them. The deal went through, and Microsoft made Halo the centerpiece of its new console.
And that is when Halo lost Halo. I should say that's when Bungie lost Bungie. Because then the corporate came in.
Now, at the time, first-person shooters lived on PC. Games like Doom and Quake thrived on mouse and keyboard precision, and most people doubted whether or not first-person shooters could even work on console. Halo Combat Evolved ended up launching on the Xbox, and it proved everybody wrong. Its tight controls redefined what shooters could be on the platform, setting the standard for how FPS games would feel on consoles even today. When Halo released, I don't know, man, this game was an enigma. Its campaign and PvP were perfect, and you just had never played anything like it before. And its LAN-enabled multiplayer just created this instant...
It's the time frame also, right? Nostalgia is a hell of a drug, man. And because Halo came out and what it was when it came out, like, you remove Halo and put a different brand in there. I don't know, right? Let's just say Overwatch. Let's say Blizzard came out with Overwatch-esque type of game back then. Would that be the thing that we talk about today? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just perfect. The campaign, the co-op, the or couch co-op, the PvP, the LAN parties, all of that stuff, right? They didn't make half of that, right? They made Halo, but the people that remember Halo remember the LAN parties and stuff like that, and we did that. You would carry your televisions, heavy fucking television sets to other people's houses, okay? Because the average household didn't have 4 television sets. Okay, they had 1 television set, so you had to bring your 1 television set over to theirs. And people would buy smaller television sets just so they could put it in their car, so they could bring it to someone's house so they could play Halo.
Community around it. We'd hook up multiple Xbox consoles for 16-player matches. It just became the game that everybody wanted to get together to play. And it wasn't just about playing the game, it was about the shared memories that that game brought with it. But this is also the moment where things took an unexpected turn, because after the release of Halo and during the development of Halo 2, Bungie's priorities began to shift. And I'd argue that this is the moment where everything changed for them, because remember, Bungie was a Mac-first developer with a loyal audience that carried them through their early
multi-platform. When Halo came out, yet everyone today talks about multi-platform is bad for gaming. Yet Halo optimized and made games for Xbox and Apple. Right? There was multiple platforms. You could buy Halo on a Apple, on a Microsoft, and Xbox, and yet for some reason the quality didn't deteriorate.
Years. They would not be where they were without them. The original agreement they had for Halo was for that game to be multi-platform, and Microsoft had already commissioned Gearbox to port the game to PC and Mac. But then Microsoft and Xbox's marketing team, along with Bungie's own manager under Microsoft, Pete Parsons, canceled the ports, forcing the game to be exclusive. Now, I'm not saying that this betrayal of the PC and Mac fans was the sole reason for Bungie to go down the wrong path, but this is the moment where control started to slip.
Yeah, but it came out 6 months after, 8 months after.
When making games stopped being about the players who got them there and started being about something else entirely, something that only got worse with the development of Halo 2. Bungie wanted to push Halo 2 further than anything that they had done before, but the project slipped into chaos. Deadlines started slipping, Microsoft's patience started to run dry, and executives were reportedly pressuring the developers to sleep in their own offices just to keep the machine moving.
You could see the difference in the old footage that Halo or Bungie was filming of themselves working in their small little cubicle thing in their office compared to this video you just saw when the guy stood up and was like the tone is completely changed.
The same group of nerds that were once making games for themselves were now getting crushed under corporate schedules. Bungie asked for another year, but Microsoft said no. For Bungie, this wasn't just a scheduling issue, it was survival. Rushing Halo 2 risked undoing everything that they had already built, and the standoff between the two got so heated that Ed Freeze, one of Xbox's top leaders, quit the company in frustration. Bungie eventually ended up getting their delay, but they lost their strongest ally, and with him, the last traces of the carefree studio that they used to be. And I think what's crazy is that despite all of this, their talent was still undeniable. Halo 2 was more than just a sequel. It was a cultural event. It sold 2.4 million copies in the first.
Think about what he just said. 2.4 million. Hold on, I'm going to rewind that. And how long?
Undeniable. Halo 2 was more than just a sequel. It was a cultural event. It sold 2.4 million copies in the first 24 hours. It rated
2.4 million in the first 24 hours. And that, my friends, was a giant success. Giant success. Okay? Now, if you sell 2 million copies, everyone's like, dead game. Dead game. It's like, what? What are you talking about? Right? But the budgets are so overblown that 2 million copies doesn't get you success. Right? Look at Assassin's Creed 1.5, Dragon Age Veilguard, 1.5 million or 1.2 million copies. Back then, that would have been phenomenal. Now, because the budgets are like $400 million, they're bombs.
in $125 million, becoming the fastest selling piece of media at the time. It was the moment that gaming fully entered into the mainstream, and beyond sales, Halo 2 revolutionized online multiplayer. Through Xbox Live, players could actually form clans and climb leaderboards and compete in a global community. It wasn't just a continuation of Halo's story, it defined what online gaming could be for consoles, and it cemented Bungie as one of the most important studios in gaming history. But that success came at a cost, because going big time, locking in with Microsoft, abandoning their old Mac audience, even if it wasn't their choice, it reshaped the studio. The Bungie that was once building games for themselves is now tied to something much bigger, and the weight of that partnership was...
You lose the make the game part. And I broke this down before, right? When I say make a game, there's a bunch that goes into that, right? The song that we have, Make a Game, Sell a Game, the lyrics tell you what exactly make a game is, okay? The selling part is the easy part once you make the game. Because if you put your blood, sweat, and tears inside that game, people look at it and go, that's a good game. It's a good game.
Starting to show. The development of Halo 2 was the moment where Bungie finally realized what
No, Roadkill, it's at 2 o'clock. We'll be streaming from 12 to about 3, but I'm not going to stop. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
They had signed up for. Microsoft now has one of the most important games in the industry, and there was no world in which they were going to let Bungie work on anything else. With every release, expectations grew even heavier, and as soon as Halo 2 had shipped, Bungie was pushed straight into Halo 3. Now, on the surface, the development of Halo 3 was going smoothly, but inside the studio, resentment was building. Leadership had already begun whispering about escape and starting talks with Microsoft about going independent, knowing that they had been chained to Halo forever under Microsoft's oversight.
Isn't that funny? They're like, we don't want to be restricted to one game for this long. And then they left Microsoft and then made Destiny. We don't want to be held to just this one game. Here we are, 12 years later.
And yet, under that pressure, they did it again. In 2007, Halo 3 launched to $170 million in sales in the first 24 hours. Halo 3 was an enormous leap over Halo 2, powered by the Xbox 360's hardware.
Tonight, Path of Exile 2, are you guys playing the seasonal server? I don't know if we're playing the seasonal server or we're just playing regular. I think we're just going to play the regular Eternal server.
Visually, it was unrecognizable compared to earlier games. Easily the best-looking shooter of the time. Bungie over-delivered on nearly every single front. Forge mode, a revolutionary tool that let us make our own maps and create our own content. Theater mode, where we could record, edit, and share gameplay clips. Dedicated servers that gave multiplayer stability and consistency that we just never...
Isn't it funny, Argus? It's gone full circle, right? They made games and sold games for themselves. They made games because they liked the games they wanted to play. Then they wanted to make Halo, and they had to sign with Microsoft, and then Microsoft was like, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, and they're like, we don't want to do this, we don't want to work on this one series, this one game, and they left to become independent. They wanted to make their own games and publish their own games, and then they had to go to Activision, and then they left them, and now they're with Sony, and Sony's like, you got to keep making Destiny. You got to keep making Destiny, and they're like, well, we really want to do Marathon. They're like, all right, go ahead and do Marathon, but now they fucked up Marathon, and now Bungie is nothing like Bungie was before, because now Bungie, okay, is now losing Bungie to the corporate. They're losing it to Sony, which is mind-boggling, right? Bungie, where it came from to where it is gone full circle. They didn't want to be that, and now they are. And now they're gone. They're going to be dissolved inside of Sony. Bungie will no longer list. It'll just be a name.
Even saw on console, and a campaign that stretched even longer than whatever they had made before, delivering some of the most cinematic, satisfying experiences imaginable. But at the height of their success, Bungie was still looking at the exit. Following Halo 3's release, they announced that they were going to be separating from Microsoft, citing a desire to have some creative freedom and return to their roots as an independent studio. Under the deal, Microsoft would retain rights to Halo, while Bungie would continue developing the franchise for a few more years before they fully parted ways. In that stretch, Bungie oversaw...
Right. They lost Halo, and now they lost everything. They lost everything. Bungie doesn't own anything anymore.
Halo Wars, they followed it up with Halo ODST, and finally in
Hey, is this Helldivers?
2010, Halo Reach marked both the studio's farewell to Halo and the end of their official partnership with Microsoft. It was the close of an era. Looking back on it now, it's crazy that despite all the chaos and the pressure that Bungie was under, they never seemed to break. They had already secured their independence from Microsoft. They could have just coasted, quietly quit, or just phoned it in, but instead, every single release, every game they had seemed to just raise the bar even higher. And while Halo 3 might be the most popular entry in the series...
Yeah, but Argus, I haven't even done the regular content yet. I haven't even done the regular content yet.
Reach was just something else entirely. It showed just how much Bungie had matured and how their skills had developed over the years, and to this day, I do not think that there's been a better FPS story that I have played. Going back to the beginning, delivering Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn, watching the sacrifices of Noble Team unfold, it was devastating, it was emotional, it was unforgettable. Nobody expected Bungie to tell a story like that, and it left an impact that I think still defines them for many fans even today. For a lot of us, Reach wasn't just a farewell to Halo, it was the moment that we remember Bungie forever. I'll be honest with you guys, for some of you folks that watch this channel that are a little bit on the younger side, maybe you guys only know Bungie for Destiny, I'm sorry. It's next to impossible for me to be able to explain just how much their studio and their...
Ron, they bought both Destiny developers. They bought the people that left Bungie, and started Firewalk Studios and bought them as well. And then they bought two Bungie companies, basically, and both are gone.
Games meant to gamers worldwide. It's like their existence just made gaming better across the board. It rose the standard for everybody out there. Their storytelling was peerless, their gameplay was flawless, and as a result of that, I think it made the rest of the industry want to do better. They were a company that just kept raising the standard with every single game that they released. And I didn't realize this until I started researching for this video, but I think the reason why we saw such a golden age in the Xbox 360 era isn't just because of nostalgia, it's just because Halo was that fucking good.
Yeah, I agree. Halo was that good, right? So good. Because back then, the gaming industry was a completely different space. I think if Halo was created today, like we never knew about Halo. Halo was created today, I don't know if it would make it. I don't know if it would make it. And that's really hard to say because Halo had such an impact on the industry, and we got so many games because of Halo, because of what Bungie did with that type of game. We wouldn't have, obviously, Destiny, right? We wouldn't have all these other games like Halo if Halo didn't come out then. So it's hard to say, you know, if that wasn't there, what would take its place? Would the industry be the same?
It was impossible to ignore. If you were a company that was making video games, you needed to be learning something off of what Bungie was doing.
Yep.
Because if you weren't, you were failing. And, I mean, the advancements that Bungie had made just for first-person shooters on a console is just next level. I mean, they brought them to the console in the first place. They brought the entire genre to the console. It's like I said at the beginning of the video, the controls that you play on a controller today are some variation of Halo's controls. You cannot...
100%. It had such an impact on gaming.
Perfection. These guys created a standard.
I would say, and this might be a hot take, I would say that what Bungie did for first-person shooters on the console is like what Lucas did for filmmaking with, Industrial Light and Magic.
Everybody else had to follow it. But those standards started to shift. The minute that these guys left Xbox was the minute that everything started to fall apart for them. Whether it was indecisiveness, whether it was the financial pressure of them going independent, maybe it was also their changes in leadership. All of the issues that they had that started at the development of Halo and then on started to bear fruit. And the image and the reputation that Bungie had built for itself was going to fall apart. While Bungie was still working on Halo 3 ODST and Reach, they were also working in the background on a game that they had planned to launch once they had gone independent, codenamed Project Tiger, later revealed as Destiny. After cutting ties with Microsoft, Bungie then signed a 10-year publishing deal with Activision.
They want to be independent. But then they signed a 10-year deal with Activision. Boy, I don't want to work on the same game.
in 2010. Why did these guys think that was going to be a better deal for them? And it didn't take long for things to spiral out of control.
Upper management.
In 2013, only a year before launch, Bungie leadership scrapped the original campaign written by Joe Staten, the veteran who had helped shape
Staten.
some of Halo's most iconic narratives. Staten then left the studio shortly after, and the campaign was rebuilt from fragments, leaving Destiny's story incoherent at launch. When Destiny launched in 2014, expectations were sky high. An MMO shooter coming from the studio.
Those are the days right there. Destiny 1, right there. That was the moment right there when you saw that. So good. Destiny 1 is so good.
Studio that never misses. It felt like a dream, but in reality, it was a stumble that nobody ever saw coming. The gunplay was incredible, pure Bungie, but everything else around it was hollow. The story was weak, the content was thin, and the grind was absolutely relentless. It was a fun and frustrating experience at the same time. A game that
But the gameplay was so good.
it felt great to play, but gave you nothing meaningful to do. Bungie's support really didn't help the situation either. Content drops dragged on, balance patches absolutely gutted some of the most popular weapons in the game, and over time it just became less fun to play. Expansions like the Dark Below and House of Wolves added scraps that felt more like cut content from launch, while
Because it was cut content at launch. They literally hid it inside the game. Here's where I think it all went wrong for the video game industry. Again, personal opinion here. I remember when Destiny was coming out, and they pre-ordered this game. You could pre-order the game, okay? And you would go to the store, and while you were pre-ordering this game, they were already talking about the two expansions, House of Wolves and Dark Below, or Dark Below and House of Wolves, okay? And I was like, the game's not even out yet, and you're already talking about the DLCs before they can even come out. So then people didn't buy the DLCs right away, right? They just bought the game. 80% of the population that bought Destiny stopped playing after the campaign, okay? They didn't even care about Dark Below. They didn't care about House of Wolves. Okay, the game came out, didn't have a big following. A couple of months after it was done. Okay, they've said this on record, and the problem is people were going into the sections on the moon for the Dark Below, and there would be no enemies there, but you could walk through the entire thing. You could glitch through and get into the section where the Dark Below comes in. Dark Below came into the game, and everyone's like, yeah, see, they cut the content. It was a key. And they're like, this was cut content. We used to talk about this all the time on Generation X Gaming.
Taken King finally delivered the overhaul that players wanted all along, but only behind another paywall. By then, the sense was already clear. Destiny had not launched unfinished by accident. Bungie was selling back the missing pieces later. Oh, I remember being so mad about this. The Dark Below was an absolute ripoff. Crota's End was a cool raid, but that expansion was just like one strike, a couple story missions, and a couple PvP maps. It all felt like cut content that should have been there since day one.
Right, because it was cut content.
And same thing goes for House of Wolves.
Yep.
By the time Taken King came along, yes, that was actually worth it. It finally made the game feel like the Destiny.
100%. Taken King was a fantastic, after the year was done, DLC that came out, and it was phenomenal.
That was always pitched to us, but then Bungie comes in and puts in the Eververse store, bringing in microtransactions into a fully priced game with expansions. And that was like somebody walking into a 5-star restaurant and taking a shit on the table that you're eating at. You can ignore.
Give me 1 second, chat. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
Up there again. Welcome to the world that never ends. Run, escape, open doors in no one. Browse a world where grinding was fun. Halo 2 brought online fight. Xbox Live, friends all night. World of Warcraft ruled the land. Raids and guilds, a global band. Guild Wars said no sub, just buy. Fantasy Star Online reached the sky. These five, Run, escape, Halo 2, Wild Guild Wars, always online, patching through time. Living worlds we buy and grind. Seasons turn, the loot rolls in. Every reset we log back in. From pixel towns to battle scenes where chasing live service dreams. League of Legends.
All right, sorry about that.
Ignore it, but you can still smell it. Now, I'll say this. Maybe it's speculation, but I do not think that timing was a coincidence.
All right,
Still smell Star
let me back up
Restaurant
a
and
little bit
taking
here.
a shit on the table that you're eating at. You can ignore it, but you can still smell it. Now, I'll say this. Maybe it's speculation, but I do not think that timing was a coincidence. This had Activision's fingerprints all over it, and likely Pete Parsons as well. Remember, Parsons was Bungie's manager under Microsoft. After leaving Xbox, he came back to Bungie later on to be their head of marketing, and not long after the Eververse store
Good old Pete Carson.
appeared, he was named CEO of the company. From that point forward, the influence of Activision and Parsons' leadership steered Bungie in a direction that would slowly but decisively erode everything that studio once stood for. I think it's worth pointing out just how fast their priorities had flipped.
Marty O'Donnell said that you took Bungie out of Microsoft, but you couldn't take Microsoft out of Bungie. He's been on record saying this, and he's talking about how Pete Parsons was a Microsoft guy. And when Bungie left Microsoft, they left Microsoft, but Microsoft never left Bungie. Microsoft still had their grasps on the inside of Bungie and basically made Destiny what it was, which now looking back is bad.
Think about where we started. This was a company that valued their independence, that wanted to make the games that they wanted to play, that shared the perspective of their audience because they were their audience. But the minute that they broke free of Microsoft, they immediately and just went and handed that over to Activision.
Yep.
For what? Money.
Again, Bungie's not the problem. Remember, Bungie, up until this point, has never been the problem. Microsoft was the problem. Activision was the problem. But Bungie could never look at themselves in the mirror and say, we're the actual problem.
Suddenly their games were rushed. Stories were scrapped. What was sold to us was entirely unfinished. And instead of fixing it, these guys are selling it back to us as DLC. At this point, they have completely shed the loyalty that they once felt for the audiences that built them to what they were at the time.
Because this is not the Bungie. The Bungie that made Halo is not the Bungie that made Destiny.
And that's not the Bungie that anybody recognized. All it took was one game in 4 years for them to become that. And then came the microtransactions. What happened to We Are Our Players? It's always funny when I hear
That Bungie themselves, that whole staff is gone. Bungie was only by Bungie by name. Only by name.
that from developers where they say that they share our perspective. How many developers pay for microtransactions in their own games? I'd really like to know. Actually,
Probably zero. Probably zero.
you don't need to tell me because I already know. As somebody that's been sponsored by video games in the past, I know that to them, it's just a button press on the back end. They don't know what it's like. It's money to us. To them, it's nothing. And that's the moment that Bungie lost perspective of their players. They stopped being us, and they started preying on us. When Destiny 2 launched,
Because that is the corporate. Corporate preys on the people because that's how they make money. They remember they have to do the corporate salute. The corporate salute is always making the money go up. If it does this, then that's bad. It has to do this, at least this, minimum this.
in 2017, it was clear that Bungie had learned from at least some of their mistakes. Cutting support from the first game so quickly was frustrating for a lot of players, but the sequel was a massive...
Don't forget, they started you back over to zero. 4 years. Took everything away from you, your legendaries, everything, and then sold it back to you.
improvement. The story was much more coherent. The campaign was cinematic. The launch was packed with content.
I remember the people, no, they got a sunset. They got a sunset. Sunset is because it's power creep. You got to protect the power creep.
There was more planets, better boss fights, and more weapons. It wasn't perfect, but it was far sharper in every way, and it let players feel genuinely optimistic about the future. But that optimism would be wasted. Because not long after launch, players discovered that Bungie was secretly throttling XP gains to slow down how...
Oh, yeah. Remember that? Remember that, Sarge? Remember Bungie was throttling the XP? But they gotta do the power creep. They had a sunset.
how quickly players could earn Eververse rewards. On paper, XP should be used to be able to unlock free loot boxes containing cosmetic items, but in practice, Bungie had built a system.
Remember, you only got the certain weapons because you paid for the Eververse store. That's how you got DLC. Because if it wasn't for the DLC after the 15 million copies they sold originally of Destiny 1, they wouldn't have been able to make it. Instead, they made a 180,000 square foot building that no one was in after they built it for 2 years.
Deliberately limiting how often players could earn those rewards without paying. Now, this was just the start, because while the game felt content-rich at the start, the cracks started to show pretty quickly. Endgame progression was incredibly shallow, but that was by design, because only 3 months later, Bungie rolled out a $20 DLC and offered almost nothing, a single...
The Osiris. This is when I started losing interest. I didn't get the Osiris and the War Mine for like a year and a half afterwards.
Story mission, a strike, and a few scraps of content. It was the same cynical playbook that they had for Destiny 1's early expansions, and it confirmed what players were already starting to believe, that Bungie was not the beloved studio that they once were. They were a greedy one. By 2019, Bungie had shifted Destiny 2
I saw that in 2016 is where my attitude switched for them.
to a free-to-play model, at least in name. In reality, multiple expansions had already been out, so the cost of the full experience of the game was well over $80 at the time. Players could access a base layer of content, but most weapons, raids, and campaigns were locked behind paywalls. Free-to-play was nothing more than a marketing label, and the worst part about all that paid content is that it wasn't even yours. In 2020, with the launch of Beyond Light, Bungie vaulted nearly half of Destiny 2's content.
They removed it. You couldn't even play the the story campaign from the original Destiny 2. It's gone. Ironically, the lawsuit that's happening about stealing the story of the Red War, but I'm sure it's just coincidence.
Expansions players had paid for, entire campaigns like the Red War, Curse of Osiris, and Warmind, gone. Whole planets were deleted, exotic quests, weapons, and activities had vanished, all in the name of streamlining the experience. Bungie had claimed that it was necessary for technical reasons to
Got a sunset. No, guys, you don't understand. The technical aspect of the game was getting too big, and we're going to have to delete the stuff from the game because you just don't understand gaming. You guys don't understand. Hold on. I actually have glasses now. All right. You just don't understand gaming, okay? It's just too big, and when it gets too big, you got to delete stuff, right? You got to sunset stuff. Trust us, bro.
Introduce new systems and reduce file size, but no MMO or other live service game has ever done anything like this. It devalued years of support, erased content people had purchased, and it had made it feel like Bungie was forcing players forward into new expansions, whether they liked it or not. Now, you think after vaulting half of the game, Bungie would try to repair their relationship with their players, but
nope. Instead, they doubled down. Maybe even tripled down.
Instead of that, they just doubled down. The Witch
Hey, look at that. Of course they doubled down.
Queen expansion was absolutely brilliant. God, I love that expansion so much. But underneath it came $20 paywall dungeons and expansion prices that crept up past the cost of a brand.
Witch Queen's new dungeons won't be included in the standard edition or the season pass. You got to pay $15 for a dungeon. We gotta we can't keep it in the game, but we can put it in the game if we pay for it. You can put it in the game if we pay for it.
A new game. In 2023, after Sony bought them, I thought that they would actually improve. I think a lot of people thought that they would, but things only got worse. Seasons got locked behind $10 to $15 paywalls, obfuscated through silver bundles that were always forcing you.
Yeah, it's too big. It's too big if it was in the game, but if you pay $15, it's not too big. You just keep throwing stuff in there. Don't worry about it.
To overpay for them, followed by
all the cosmetics that they're putting in the game and all the stuff. That's not too big. The store's not getting too big. Everything still stays in the store. You can buy everything there. Don't worry. Keep buying it.
Paywalled exotics, paid campaign skips, and an Eververse store that just kept ratcheting up prices while locking more cosmetics away. And through all of this, Bungie still had the nerve to market Destiny as a free-to-play game when it clearly isn't. The most frustrating part of all of this is that despite all of its flaws, Destiny 2 can have some incredibly high points. That's why people keep coming back to it. Expansions like...
No, they keep coming back to it because you have lost or sunk cost fallacy in the game. They come back to it because they're like, oh, I love it. No, they're going to make it better. This is a terrible relationship. This is a abusive relationship. This is a one-direction relationship. You love Destiny. And this is where my analogy of my stripper ex-girlfriend Destiny. I've never actually had a stripper ex-girlfriend named Destiny, right? The stripper ex-girlfriend named Destiny is Destiny, okay? Destiny is a girl that loves you, right? She loves you so much, you ask her to stop stripping, and she says, yeah, I'll stop. And then she doesn't stop. And she's so good looking, you love her. You show her off. You're like, look at my stripper girlfriend. But then other people start looking at your stripper ex-girlfriend or your girlfriend, and they start trying to take advantage of your stripper girlfriend because they know she's a stripper. And they start paying her stuff. Okay? And then you try to meet her family, and she's got daddy issues. She's got a lot of problems. Daddy's Bungie. Okay? And there's just lots of problems on the surface. Or underneath the surface, I should say. She looks hot. She's gorgeous. And man, let me tell you, she really knows how to work the gun. Okay? That's the stripper ex-girlfriend Destiny. And people are like, I could change her. I can change her. Right? Come on, Daddy Bungie. Let me marry your stripper ex-girlfriend Destiny here.
Lightfall in 2023 pushed the game over 300,000 concurrent players on Steam, and Episode 1 Echoes sparked a similar surge. The game can be amazing when it delivers. The gunplay is unmatched. The raids are some of the best in the industry, and that's why people care enough to be angry in the first place. But the erratic quality combined with Bungie's obsession with squeezing their players for all their worth has left this game feeling hollow. That's why the game now sits at 25,000 concurrent players.
But she's hot. She's hot. She's so good looking.
On Steam right now, its lowest ever, and honestly, who could blame anybody for leaving? Destiny 2 costs over $400 if you want access to the full game. It's locking content behind expansions that can vanish at any time while still asking for money.
That's what keeps it exciting. You don't know what Destiny's going to bring to the bedroom. She could leave you. She could bring something in, tease you with it, but it could leave any time.
At every turn. This is not the Bungie that made Halo. That's obvious now. Most of the original staff is gone, lost to layoffs, creative differences, scandals, or burnout, or whatever else. And what's left has shifted its perspective so far from we are our players that the quality has suffered and the trust is gone. Bungie was once one of the most renowned studios in the world. Now nobody gives them the benefit of the doubt because they have proven time and time again that they do not deserve it. They've abandoned their principles that they were founded on to the point where their own leadership...
Well, the new principle was money. That was the new principle.
Openly dismisses the idea of delivering value to their players at GDC 2023.
And the beware of over-deliver, which we'll probably get to, right? He'll probably get to that with the new guy, Justin, I forget his name, that's taking over, which is kind of out of context, but he tells you why of over-delivery, but he still said don't over-deliver.
Bungie's then general manager, now CEO Justin Truman, gave a presentation
that's it, Justin Truman.
on running a live service game where he literally argued that over-delivering to your players is a bad thing.
Right, because you don't want to get them conditioned, because if you set the bar, and we would talk about this all the time, chat, right? You don't need to be in the same company, right? Let's take Division 2, right? Has some awesome quality of life stuff in the game, right? Of honing in and farming, okay? So you can really hone in on what gun you want, backpack, armor, okay? That's the bar. That's the bar. What Justin is saying is, if you set the bar, right? If you set the bar to where we match this game, then the next thing you come out with is that your player base is going to expect more, right? They're going to expect more. So instead of over-delivering, make sure you go below the bar, okay? Because never actually hit the next bar. You just slowly creep up on the bar. Sort of like power creep, right? It's like power creep.
He said, if we release an expansion with 2 raids, the next year folks are going to be upset if there's only 1 raid. We've hurt the station by making a rogue decision in one.
Think about that, what he says, right? If we release an expansion with 2 raids, the next year folks are going to be upset if there's only 1 raid. Well, yeah, because you did set the bar. You would think for a $20 expansion and you put a raid in the game, then the bar is set. Meaning if 2 raids equals $20 plus the extra expansion stuff, and then you come out with the next expansion and there's no raids or 1 raid and you're still asking for $20, something seems off. The value that you've done. So when you say, right, don't over deliver, he's saying here, we hurt the station by making a rogue decision in one train. Okay. The whole concept was presented using a train metaphor.
Train, but at the same time, and this is why the lesson is so painful, so much of quality and delight in our craft comes from over delivery, right? From giving folks stuff beyond what they expected.
But it's not beyond what they expected. They expect that if you gave us this for $20, and in that $20 you got 5 new weapons, 6 new missions, 2 new raids, the next expansion for the same price is less than that. That's not on me for expectations. That's on you. So he says over delivering. No, you don't have to over deliver. You just have to hit the delivery point again, which is you set the tone. You said 6 missions, 5 new weapons, 2 new raids, $20. They went, oh man, what about if we give 1 raid, 3 weapons, and 3 missions for $20 on the next one? That's still worth it, right? And then when the customers come back and say, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right, they're like, oh, you just hate it. You're just haters. You're just haters.
Still want that. We still want to surprise and delight and sometimes overwhelm our players, but we need to be mindful of the patterns and the implied future commitments we've set for ourselves each time. Games media rushed in to defend Bungie at the time, claiming that players just didn't understand the full context of the
Of course.
time. Games media
always comes in. You just don't understand. It's unfair to Bungie. It's unfair.
Rushed in to defend Bungie at the time, claiming that players just didn't understand the full context of the conversation. But let's be real, that's a bullshit mentality. It does not benefit your customers in any way. You should be setting clear goals and delivering on them. Simple as that. How disorganized, how inept is your leadership if you have to
There it is. Leadership.
Justify not creating patterns of quality. If you're afraid of actually setting positive expectations, that's not a strategy, it's cowardice. And that leadership, I think, has shown through bright as day when they revealed Marathon earlier this year, a hero-based extraction shooter. I didn't think you could be any more on the nose when it comes to trend chasing, but the reveal landed with a thud, uninspired, unwanted, instantly forgettable. Then came the controversy when fans discovered that Bungie had copied an indie artist's work for their art deck, then they go and blame it on a former employee that got swept up under layoffs. But true or not, intentional or not, it doesn't really matter. It only underscores just how disorganized and hollow this studio has become. And I'll be honest with you, I played the Marathon pre-alpha, and it was the first time in all of my research that
It just looks not impressive. It looks so bland. It almost looks like, I mean, obviously I know it's an alpha, but it looks like it's an alpha of an alpha.
I actually
Pre-alpha?
felt like I was going to work. No soul, no spark. It was just an empty grind that just made it painfully clear that Bungie has not only sold away their principles, but their talent. The only thing that's left is a studio that is creatively bankrupt and it's being run by management that has no idea what they're doing. And that's why Marathon is delayed indefinitely. Sony now sees the writing on the wall and that they've wasted their $3.6 billion investment. With Destiny 2 bleeding players and Marathon delayed indefinitely, they've begun stripping away Bungie's autonomy, preparing to fold the studio fully into PlayStation, likely dissolving it entirely. There's a really good chance that Bungie just won't exist after this. Bungie's story is tragic because it didn't have to be this way. They weren't some no-name.
They sold themselves out. They sold it for the market value. They sold it for the stocks.
Studio that lucked into success. They were visionaries that once set a standard for the entire industry. They took shooters off of the PC and brought them to console. They created moments, memories, and communities that shaped an entire generation of players, and then they just sold it all away. Piece by piece, a studio that was its own customer became a studio that looked at its players as wallets to be drained. They traded their identity for contracts. They traded ambition for trends. They traded trust for microtransactions, and now they're just a shell of whatever they used to be. The community is fractured. Their flagship game is bleeding players. Their next project is a punchline, and the company itself is just now being stripped for parts. The truth is, Bungie isn't collapsing because of bad luck. They're collapsing because they abandoned the very philosophy.
100%. They're abandoning it because of they just left their values completely. But the owners left. The values left with the owners. The values weren't Bungie. Bungie was the values of the people that created Bungie. When the owners left, the original guys left, the values left with it.
that made them great. The people who once played their own games, who built for themselves and invited us along for the ride, are gone. What's left is a company that doesn't even understand its audience anymore, a company
100%.
who forgot what it was. And in this industry, when you lose that, you don't just fall, you get buried. I don't think that Marathon stands a chance. I don't see a world where that happens. Not without.
I agree it doesn't stand a chance, but I also have been on record saying that Sony cannot let it fail. They will shoehorn it in. They will pretend it's successful. They will Captain Marvel this shit, okay, as long as they possibly can. They will tell you that this game is the most successful game they've ever created. They will tell you there's so many players playing the game. They'll tell you so many things. They will fake it till they make it, and because they're putting so much money behind it, they have to. $3.6 billion into Bungie, and they have nothing really to show for it yet.
Without a vast reimagining. I'm talking about an almost entirely different game, which requires a lot more time and a lot more money, and I do not think those are things that Sony is going to be willing to give to them. I think that Sony's looking at this and saying, this is a company that's lost its trust, that's lost its talent, that's lost its organization, and they're likely regretting that $3.6 billion investment. Or
What if, now hear me out here. I just thought about this, right? Because Pete Carson is a Microsoft tried and true. He started with Microsoft, okay? He went with Bungie. He played their cards. Microsoft was playing 4D chess. Set it up the purchase of Sony to get Bungie, paid overprice for them, and then completely ruined it from the inside, right? I'm not actually thinking that's possible. Well, it's plausible. But Microsoft played the long game. And they put a nuke within Sony. And now they're just going to dissolve Bungie after paying $3.6 billion. That's crazy.
saying to themselves, let's just salvage whatever we can that still works. I'm deeply saddened to make a video like this. I would have never thought that this is where Bungie would end up. I really wouldn't. I mean, I've talked about this in other videos in the past, but Halo was largely the game that made me a gamer. Like, sure, I played games when I was younger, but at the same time, I never had games that I was, like, committed to. Games that became a part of my identity.
I don't know how old he is, but if he's 30 and he's been playing since Halo, he was what, 5, 7, 10?
Or part of my personality that led to me making a lot of other friends and memories.
That's a big chunk, right? 25 years, your last 25 years. If you're 40, you know what I mean? It's more than half of your life. That's a big chunk, man.
And things like that. And I mean, they drove me to want to make games of my own. I mean, I dropped out. I'm just not really built for programming, to be honest with you. But either way, that's still what their games did. Their games inspired others to do other things, to do great things, or try to do great things. And now their games only inspire criticism, hate, resentment. I really am of the mind that money corrupts all. And that the more that you're
Agreed.
tempted by the ring, the more focus you lose.
Yeah, my precious. When you're tempted by greed, which is the money, your values go out the window.
And the more focus you lose, everything starts to suffer as a result of it. I have no problem with these companies wanting to make money. I don't even have a problem with companies wanting to have microtransactions in their game. I really don't. The problem is that when that gets in the way of the quality of the experience.
Yes. And that's the reason that's happening. I have no problems with microtransactions. I have a problem with microtransactions when a game suffers mechanically, okay, because they will try to wedge something in. You look at games like Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights had microtransactions in the game. It was made, but then they switched it up, right? Suicide Squad, right? Things are fundamentally change the fundamentals of the game because they try to wedge in microtransactions.
And actually making something for the audience that you're putting it out there for. And when your greed is getting to the point where it's interfering with the process, with the quality, with the experience that you're delivering, you've already lost your company at that point. At least
I wouldn't want that, Craig. Craig says the new ODS Helldivers stuff showed that Halo can also be done in a different group. I also love it more. I think Arrowhead could easily be the new dev for Halo. I wouldn't want them to be Halo. I would 100% like Arrowhead to do something else. Halo it's really hard when you you're a company doing someone else's work, right? Halo died with Bungie stopped making Halo. Like, Halo's there. People play Halo. You might enjoy it. But you love what Halo was, not what Halo is. And when you take an IP like that, even if you're talking about movies, a group that's like, oh, these guys would be really good if they made a Star Wars or Star Trek, and you're like, nah, there's just a whole bunch of baggage that comes along with that. And if you don't do it right, it just falls apart.
That's how it works in my eyes. I don't know if becoming a part of PlayStation is going to help them. Maybe it will. I mean, PlayStation's internal studios do relatively well for the most part, so maybe that ends up being a boon to them, and maybe it ends up working out. Maybe that's what they need, is just stronger leadership and more oversight. I mean, if you think about it, they were at their peak when they had Microsoft over them. So, I mean...
But Microsoft was the problem.
Maybe this is exactly what they need. Maybe independence was the last thing that... But
some people just can't do independence. Some people want to run a business, but some people can't run a business. And Bungie should have been a studio that never went on their own. They always needed someone to manage the money for them, because when they were on their own, they fucking blew the money because they didn't know what to spend the money on. They spent it irresponsibly, right? They spent it on stuff they didn't need. They overpaid for a bunch of people. They were making so much money they didn't know what to do. Instead of, like, Palworld said this, they made so much money they didn't say, I don't know what to do with it. They made $63 million off of Palworld right at the beginning, and they're like, we have so much money, we don't know what to do with it. So Nintendo said, we'll take some of that.
Bungie needed. Who knows? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is probably going to be a long one. I had a lot to say. I didn't want to leave out any context. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too long. If you guys did enjoy
I
this
just doubled it, Legend. You just did it for 28 minutes. I probably did it for 50.
video, share the video, like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, catch me live on Fridays, and yeah, that's all I got. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
You can see his link in the description down below. Go give it a like, give it a sub if you don't watch him already. Halo is mostly done by 343 Studios nowadays. Yeah, and it's not as good. Also, it says they forgot to hire accountants, but instead, Pete bought new cars instead of the real accountants. Well, what you do with your money afterwards is fine, but it's just funny. Instead of trying to make the game better, he's like, I'm going to buy a new car and then show people off. Hey, you guys see what I bought today? Oh, by the way, we got to fire you. We can't afford stuff around this office. I just bought a new car. You got to go. Oh, man. Yeah, it's sad. Good video. Good video by Legendary Drops. Bungie, what could have been? What could have been? All right, what time is it? 12:15, 12:16. All right, that's going to do it for the morning show. We'll be back in about half hour or so playing more Helldivers with Mr. Luke over on 30 and Still Gaming. Appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit that like button. Okay, there's 30 of you guys here. It'd be nice if I could get 30 likes in the channel. Appreciate it very much. Make sure you subscribe. If you'd like to go above and beyond, become a member as little as $5. You can also check out our album. It's on all major platforms. It's called Perk Up Press Play. There's also single songs out there as well that you can download, stream, purchase, whatever. It helps us out here as well. If you like it, they're just fun songs. They're good songs. You could hear them on the radio. So they're actually pretty good. They're funny, and they're current to what topics and stuff that we talk about on this channel. Appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Good morning, sunshine, rise and shine. The daily grind is here on time with gaming news and fun galore. We'll chat and entertain once more. The coffee's hot, the mic is on. Jump in the chat, let's have some fun. From pixels small to stories grand, we bring the magic to your hand. We're nitty tuned in daily, don't you miss entertainment wrapped in bliss. From new releases, tips and tricks, the daily grind, your morning fix. Controller ready, headset too, we've got the update cover gaming always. Home race, controller ready, headset too. We've got the updates just for you. From late night streams to morning plays, we cover gaming all the ways. Laughs and news on winning plan, the show with you, our dearest friend. Comments rolling, chats arrive, the daily grind, 5-star vibe. Tune in daily, don't you miss entertainment wrapped in bliss. From new releases, tips and tricks, the daily grind, your morning fix. Good morning, sunshine, rise and shine. The daily grind is here on time, with gaming news and fun below. We'll chat and entertain once more. The coffee's hot, the mic is on. Jump in the chat, let's have some fun. From pixels small to stories grand, we bring the magic to your